all the time.
Here's your problem, Rob. Deal with it. I'm out.
Yeah! The Rob Brown Show is on your radio, ladies and gentlemen. Howdy, y'all. Welcome in. Happy Thursday? Already?
It is Thursday.
Oh, we just got here.
I know, right?
Welcome in, friends, to the show that does eventually end at noon. But between here and there, we are going to just have ourselves a lovely, lovely time on the radio broadcast. It is the Rob Brown Show, the two-time South Carolina Broadcasters Association Sports Talk Radio Show of the year. Of course, all because of the Sultan of Swag, the Professor of Perfection, the Wizard of Wave, the Sheriff of Sports Talk, the Alpha and the Omega of the fan upstate, the content cash cow himself, the great one, Lonzo, and also, I'm here. Hi, I'm Rob.
Lonzo is a superstar.
Yep. Thanks, Internet Man in the Box. Could not agree more. What's happening, everybody? How y'all doing? How's your Thursday going so far? Good. Super. Ever so glad to hear it. Better than the Los Angeles Angels, who are hilariously the most inept organization in American professional sports. I am including the Houston Texans in that group. I am including the Kansas City Royals in that group. I am including all of them in this group because
I'm sure the Royals are just having a bad year. They'll be all right.
they'll be back.
They will absolutely be back.
Hell yeah, they'll be back. I don't know about the Angels though.
He's always listening.
He's always listening. The complaint texts are coming from inside the house. The boss is a Royals fan. So the Angels bring Mike Trout back off the IR, where he has been for like 2 months now. They bring him back for a game yesterday, as they are in a doubleheader yesterday. Far enough outside the playoff spot, but like close enough to not give up. And remember, they decided not to trade Shohei Ohtani for what I honestly, genuinely believe would have been the biggest trade haul in the history of Major League Baseball. They decided, nope, we're going to keep him and we're going to go for it. After the deadline, they lost 7 straight. I believe in this month they have won like 2 games so far since the deadline. Things are going hilariously bad. They bring Mike Trout back yesterday after being on the IR for like 60 days. He plays 1 game and immediately goes back to the IR. And there's this cat, Lonzo, you may have heard about him, Shohei Ohtani. You heard this guy's name before?
Yeah, I know what happened.
Yeah, he a decent little baseball player. Phenomenal pitcher, by the way. Really good pitcher, except for yesterday he left the game. Correct. Because he left the game, I believe, 2 innings into his start with a torn UCL, meaning that Shohei Ohtani will not pitch another inning for the LA Angels of Anaheim this season.
I know. I keep seeing it. Does that mean, is he still going to be able to hit?
He can still hit. Yeah, he just can't throw anymore.
That's just weird.
Or he can't pitch anymore.
That's weird that you can't pitch, but you can still hit.
Different motions from the UC. I don't know. Let me rephrase that.
Maybe you can brace it up so you can hit.
I'm making an educated guess here.
When I read it on the bottom line of whatever I was watching, they were specific that he was
not going to pitch again.
Pitch.
Exactly.
They didn't say anything about hitting.
Exactly. So I'm making an assumption. The ulnar collateral ligament is a ligament that runs on the inner side of the elbow. It helps support the elbow. For a chunk, if not all of it, you have had two of the best baseball players on planet Earth, and you can't win a single playoff game. Outstanding work, LA. Now, this may shock you, we are not in Los Angeles, so we're not going to spend a ton of time on the Angels, but I have to think that what is happening with LA, if nothing else, is just hilarious to baseball fans as a whole. So I felt like it needed to get brought up, frankly.
Apologies to the stream. By the way, you can watch us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and the XYO. We had some technical difficulties. My board was not set up correctly. It has now been fixed. I apologize for you not being able to hear anything that Rob said for the first 6 minutes of the show. We're good now, though.
You didn't miss anything. It's just me. Hey, we learned a new word today.
We did.
Courtesy of Captain America, Chris Evans down the hall. We learned a new word today. That word is rasher.
Yeah. You guys know what a rasher is?
I'm not even telling you what it means yet. Do you know what a rasher is? Because he said that word, and Lonzo and I both picked our heads up like, what?
Yeah, we could have let the sentence continue, but I had to stop it. And he does it on purpose. Mr. I memorized the dictionary as a child. He did, by the way. I'm not joking. So he does. I think he only does it to me. But you were in the room and he got you too. And it's there's a smugness of I know a word that you don't know, but it's kind of cool.
He said, talking about the thing we were talking about, he's like, hey, there's a, this is the way to create the rasher. And I went, so do any of y'all know what a rasher is? I'm asking because it is rare that somebody drops a bomb like that on me and I go, I have no idea what
I didn't think about it. You're the haughty intellectual. Yeah. You should know the word.
When it goes over my head, it's a big one. I had no idea what a rasher is. And here's the thing.
I'm just a man of the simple people.
The subject
covered.
The subject about which a rasher defines is something I am very familiar.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan.
That's why it's surprising. Yeah. You are almost or you believe, and you might actually be an expert on that topic and not knowing the word associated with it. That was surprising.
Blew my mind. So, do you guys know what a rasher is? 71307. Start your text with fan. Don't just say yes. Send me a text. If you know what a rasher is, tell me what it is.
So, like, is it like when you got a bell on your board, man, and you get like this long abrasion? Is that like a rasher? I thought it was a good one.
A rasher, R-A-S-H-E-R, rasher. That is your Rob Brown trivia word of the day. Do you know what a rasher is? Shoot me a text. Let me know. 71307. Start your text with fan.
Is it akin to a rager?
Nope.
Okay. All right.
Now you could have a rasher at a rager. In fact, I would even say that every rager is made better by a rasher, but it is not required to have a rasher at a rager.
That's a good point. That really is.
It does make
of course
make the rager
Of course
better
he was listening and wanted to come back in here.
Christopher, do not tell them what it is. We are asking to see if the audience knows what a rasher is because you dropped that bomb on us today, and so I did not.
I'm happy to play your game. I am not going to tell people what a rasher is. I did overhear the conversation that you were having and had to come in here to defend myself and clarify a point that Lonzo made. I did not memorize the dictionary as a child.
Wait. I seem to
simply read it.
Okay, there we go.
All right. The dictionary because I thought it was interesting.
For the record, you do know that's only like slightly.
Yeah,
better.
I know.
Yeah.
That's only slightly better.
But no. This is you're making me sound like some like spelling bee champion or something.
You read the dictionary, Christopher.
Because here's what would happen. I would be reading a book. I did pleasure reading like a lot of people.
No problem.
And I would come across a word that I didn't know, and I think I need to go to the dictionary and look that up. And then somewhere in the definition, there'd be another word that I didn't know. So I'd go look that one up. And then right next to that definition, there'd be, that looks like an interesting word. And I'd read that definition. And it was this it's the same kind of rabbit hole that you go down with Wikipedia.
That's what I was waiting for.
Exactly. Nope. This was the old school Wikipedia rabbit hole. And I've even come up with a game that I'll get into later. But it wasn't like I just time to read the dictionary. Let's whip that out and memorize, start with A's.
No, I'm saying that's 100% Ray, isn't it? That's 100% Ray calling the show right now. No,
anyway,
I am a Wikipedia.
To clarify,
I get it. I am a Wikipedia fiend. I am 100% the dude that looks up a thing on Wikipedia and then just starts clicking blue links like I'm sponsored for it. I've just never heard anybody drop. I read the dictionary for LOLs.
Yes. It was interesting. I was interested in things, and I like words.
I'm not judging.
All right. Gary says he knows what a rasher is.
Gary, what's a rasher, Gary?
I think that is a person that runs around giving people rash everywhere.
It could be. It could be. That's not it though.
That was my first thought, and I apologize.
It's all right. Some people pay for that too.
Yeah,
Gary,
thanks for the call. That is not a rasher. I like that. I mean,
I think penicillin is used to treat it. I'm not positive.
I think they make creams for that.
Yeah,
now.
they do.
No, that is not a rasher. Joey B on the stream's on the right track. And he said in England they call thin bacon a rasher. You're on the right track. But here's the thing. It's the same. Chris dropped this word on me this morning, on us this morning. I sat
Sometimes
there,
he forgets I'm here, but
I sat there
right.
completely confused and then nonplussed even. And then I looked it up and it's like, no, that's a thing. That is a word that people use to describe a thing. That is in my house very frequently. Never heard it called.
I'm guessing it's in all of our houses. Well, a good majority of.
Was it Gary that just called?
It was Gary.
Said it was a thin slice of bacon?
No. Joey B said that on our stream.
Oh, okay. That you're right. That is close, and that is actually. I will even give Joey B more credit. That is one definition. That's not the one we're talking about. But it's very close to the one that we're talking about.
James said the Wikipedia rabbit hole starts at NFL stats and ends up at serial killers and dictators every time. Every time.
And here's the game that I've devised. You pick two.
We're coming to sports in a minute, by the way, promise.
Two unrelated articles, and you see how many links it takes to get
from one to two.
Yeah.
I like that. That's good.
Any path that you want.
And it lets you be a huge dork in the process, which is good for everybody. There it is.
Bye.
There it is. Bye, Chris. Thanks for coming by, buddy. What's a rasher, ladies and gentlemen? 71307. Start your text with fan and let us know if you know. Because I don't know, man. Texture said, I had a rasher, but I used Desitin and it cleared right up. Ringing endorsement.
Sounds like good stuff. There are other side effects. I don't know.
Another texture, 71307. Texture says, my man is a weapon. Yeah, he is, because Leo Messi last night cleaned up a messy and tied a game against Cincinnati. That's what it sounded like. Messi gets his second or gets a goal late. It sends into Miami. I heard it.
Yeah,
I liked
that's what I was doing.
I liked it. That's just excellent production work. Messi gets a goal.
I have
96.
won awards. I don't know if you knew that.
Inter Miami goes to the PKs and they knock off Cincinnati in the U.S. Open Cup. So that's a.
All right, Steven, you're kind of right. You're kind of right.
A rasher is something you put Duke's mayo on. If
you prefer that particular, mayonnaise is mayonnaise. But if you're one of those people and you prefer that, yeah, go ahead.
All right. We got to get to actual sports. I'm going to tell you
what's going on. You're not going to say, you're just going to let it go until someone answers.
Yeah.
All right.
100%.
Right.
Do you guys know what a rasher is? Rashad Beard is in spy training again today. He has to move to tomorrow. His Q has got a new wristwatch that comes with a tranquilizer gun attached to it.
Oh, man, I hope it can't transmit over miles.
We'll see. So Rashad will join us on tomorrow's edition of the Rob Brown Show, but we will talk Carolina Panthers in that segment. Miles Sanders says he is good to go. I read some interesting analysis and critiques on Bryce Young from some different quarterback gurus. We're going to bring those up and see how we feel about him. At 11 a.m., we are going to be joined by former U.S. men's national team legend and current manager of your Greenville Triumph, John Harkes. He will join us on the stream at 11 a.m. And then it's Thursday. And you know what that means. At 11:20, it's time for Fight Club with the great Lonzo. We'll be talking MMA, boxing, and professional wrestling coming up at 11:20. And there has been a lot to get caught up on there. We'll end it all with, of course,
What the X?
What
man?
the X?
Come on.
Is going on Twitter? at 11:45. So make sure you're here for that. We are going to be all over the place today. Here's how you get in touch with the show, 844-326-3663.
Wait, we haven't been all over the place already?
We're going to stay all over the place. 844-326-3663 to get on the phone line. 71307 is the carpros.com text line. 71307. Send your text. Start it with the word fan, F-A-N, fan, F-A-N, so that we can read them on the air. Send us and let us know if you know what a rasher is. We have got to come to a break. If you don't know what a rasher is, stay tuned. I'll tell you on the other side of the break. I will also tell you, reports came out yesterday that the ACC had at least a few presidents all meeting together to discuss the further possibility of adding Cal, Stanford, and SMU into the mix. Why would they go ahead and consider moving Cal, Stanford, and SMU into the ACC? You know the reason. You know what the reason is.
All right,
we break it down for you.
We can't play music, so when you say, well, let's go to break, I'm just going to push a button because when I pushed the music button, it started playing something else. That's why, yeah, I didn't push the wrong button. I pushed the right button. It's not playing.
All right, let's do a dry out. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back right after this. That's Lonzo. I'm Rob, and you're listening to the Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate. Nailed it. Oh. Stephen, JD, James, Joey B, Noel, what's up, everybody? Yeah, we're coming to that. Pitching, Noel. Pitching's the only reason they wouldn't make it. If the pitching hits a lull, in the playoffs, then they'll get Phillies out again, which I don't want to happen, but we'll see.
No, do the thing because I gotta go.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, we're having some technical issues with our computer, as you can tell, guys, and we got to knock something out real quick. So we will be right back in just a few seconds. Do not go anywhere. Thanks.
Is the nation's leader in this exciting medical breakthrough.
Okay.
And patients here are getting real lasting relief and are saying no to surgery.
Joey B, Porque no los dios. Why not both? No, that's not right. Is it? Yeah, it's Porque no los dos.
Yeah, don't look at me like I know Spanish. I don't know.
Yeah, Porque no los dos. Why not both?
If he doesn't get over here and fix it,
Nobody's coming back either.
I will. No, here. Let me go ahead and get some music as backup. No, actually, I can put it in. All right. So when I went to fire, I had the music in 2. When I went to fire it fired the stack instead of firing what was in the channel. Okay. I haven't tried 3, but if I try it, I'm afraid it's going to jump to the next spot.
No, I understand. Were you able to reload it and give it? I mean, clearly you're in the middle.
It was just a liner, so I was good. Yeah.
Let me look at the.
I'll beatbox if we need to.
Accepted.
Okay.
Very accepted.
I'd expect the Charlie Morton over 6.5. I'd have taken that too. I didn't see it because I was at the Triumph game, so I didn't get anything locked in last night. But I'd have taken that. I'll take the over K route for anybody pitching against the Mets.
That's right.
I mean, we hit 3 and see what happens right now, but
La 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 la.
it was 2 that I hit, and it did that. So
When you say hit, you mean
I fired on
from the board?
from the board, yeah.
And I wouldn't be an engineer if I didn't ask. You're sure you hit the right button?
Yes.
Okay.
I looked and
sure.
yes. No, I get it.
Because that would cause exactly
Especially-
what you're talking about.
Especially but here's the thing. It only played one thing and I didn't have to stop it, and it jumped into channel 2, was playing in channel 2 even though something was in it. There was a bed in 2.
Yeah, let's try it.
Well, just wait. When the liner plays, I'll hit it, and if it works, fine. If not, it may jump to the next liner, and I'll just turn it off.
Real Sports Talk
Fan upstate
is the sports voice of you.
I'm just gonna start talking.
That's 844-326-3663.
All right, so liner and the music. The music's playing now. But it plays
The Rob Brown
next
Show back
album
on your radio.
and
It is the Fan Upstate. Howdy, y'all. Welcome in. Good to have you. Rob Alonzo, Captain America, Chris Evans down the hall. I think just going to hang out in the studio with us for the rest of the day. He's got nothing better to do.
Not true.
It's all right. My solution is I'm just going to play the NWO theme
I have
for the
nothing
rest
more
of the
fun
day.
to do.
All right. Let's get to some stuff.
Or I'll
here.
just play this.
Next, I want to see.
No, don't you take it out yet. I need a breakdown now.
I was promised beatboxing.
I got too much spit in my mouth now. I'm not going to do that. Yeah.
When it comes crashing down and it hurts inside.
All right, fine.
It don't help to hide. You hurt my friends, then you hurt my pride. I gotta lend a hand. It don't.
I am a real American. Fight for the rights of every man. I am a real American. Fight for what's right. Fight for what's right.
All right, that's enough of that. Ladies and gentlemen, reports started dropping yesterday late afternoon that the Atlantic
Next, I want to
Coast
see you,
Conference
start it from the
was
player.
considering. Let me tell you something, Mean Gene. You got to do it. I agree. That the Atlantic Coast Conference is once again considering, or has at least begun, initial and small scale conversations about the potential acquisition of Stanford, Cal, and SMU. Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports reported that yesterday. Pete Thamel went on the record with that same story as well. And both of them lined up by saying that expansion is back on the table as a legitimate possibility. Why, you might ask? Hey, Lonzo, let's play the Rob Brown Show Home Edition. Why would the ACC expand, and why would SMU, Cal, and Stanford end up in the Atlantic Coast Conference?
All right, this was a tough one, and I'm going to go with money.
Ding, ding, ding. Tell him what he's won, Johnny.
It wasn't. And then I hit the thing, and that's, you know what? I am, you know what I need? You know what I need, Rob? I need a
to take your
vacation.
vitamins and say your prayers, brother.
No, I need a vacation.
Oh, yeah,
That's what I need.
That's what you need.
Yeah, I do.
two of the three expansion targets, Stanford and Cal, are now proposing taking a significantly reduced revenue distribution for multiple models, starting at about 30%, according to Ross Dellinger. SMU, and we didn't report this. We brought this info to you after it was reported elsewhere a couple of weeks back. SMU apparently has a group of high-level boosters who have said that they are willing to float the money that would be coming in from the ACC to SMU for as many as 5 years, meaning that the ACC could invite SMU, could bring SMU into the fold, and not have to give them a dime for a half a decade. Now, that's a pretty big deal because it gives SMU stability in the ACC. It gives the ACC a little bit more growth, including a nationally recognized brand. Not a good one, but a nationally recognized brand. And the ACC does not have to pay for that. SMU is a free addition to your conference for at least a half a decade, right? So I'm not shocked that SMU is still under consideration because people follow SMU. Even from a distance, they follow SMU. I'm not sitting here arguing that it is adding USC or UCLA. But of the teams that are left and available, it's about as good as you can ask for, Stanford, Cal, and SMU at this current spot in the realignment era. Dellinger said that the ACC is having multiple conversations right now. They are discussing only adding the two teams from California. They are discussing adding only SMU. They are discussing adding one of the California teams and SMU, or just standing pat and adding nobody to the discussion. Dellinger says that the additional revenue that the new expansion targets would forego is going to be considered, or at least being pushed as, in these discussions, additional revenue to current ACC members. And that is a massive part of this conversation because the league has been searching for additional revenue to appease what Dellinger describes as, quote, restless members, end quote. Those restless members, as of right now, we know are Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina, and NC State. Because according to the reports, 4 of the 15 teams that have a vote in the ACC, which are the 14 full-time members and Notre Dame, 4 of the teams said no. They need 12 votes for a yes, meaning that of the 4, FSU, Clemson, NC State, and NC State and UNC, they need just 1 to flip sides. They just need 1 to change their mind and go from a no to a yes. If one of them goes no to yes, the conference expands. And like I've said, I don't think you're going to get UNC, Clemson, or Florida State to flip their vote without coming up not with additional revenue, but with a lot of it. Because as I pointed out to you, if the conference expands dramatically by 3 teams, and I would say that is dramatic, I would also say don't be shocked if they go find 1 more to make it an even 4. But I'll stick with the 3 right now. If the conference expands, what does that do to FSU and Clemson primarily, North Carolina in the mix as well, maybe NC State to a lesser degree, as those are the 4 teams that said no. What it does is it makes it harder for them to leave down the road, right? Because until 2036, there is a pretty hefty exit fee for these schools, which means, as we have told you multiple times, primarily the only way that these schools could quickly get out and move to another conference, and do so without being on the hook for millions of dollars worth of exit fees, is for the league to disband. Right now, they don't have the votes for that. They could gain the votes for that the closer they get to the end of the media rights agreement, right? But to disband the league, they've got to have the required number of votes. And if Cal, Stanford, and SMU come into the mix, what are the odds that these three teams that are no longer going to be homeless, like Cal, Stanford, and SMU are? Well, they're in the Pac-4. Okay, so to be homeless, right? What are the odds they're going to join the ACC and then in 2 or 3 or 4 years vote to disband the ACC? Not very good, because they know there's no invitation coming from other conferences. How do they know that? Because it is, again, free to add these schools to your conference right now, and nobody's inviting them. If the Big 12 wanted Cal, Stanford, or SMU, that invitation would be out there right now, like it was to Colorado, like it was to Arizona, Arizona State, and Utah. But they don't want them, which means nobody wants them right now, because the Big 10 and the SEC certainly are not adding Cal, Stanford, and SMU. So the ACC is the only option. And if those three teams, Cal, Stanford, and SMU, were to jump over and join the Atlantic Coast Conference, what are the odds that in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, they then turn around and vote to disband that conference? I'm going to say 0%. About a 0% chance. So FSU, Clemson, and probably North Carolina are never going to say yes, because they want that nuclear option on the table. They want the possibility of down the road getting a deal with the SEC, the Big 10, the Big 12, wherever they all end up, that says, hey, if you invite FSU, you've got to invite, I don't know, Duke with them. So that some of the ACC partners know that there's an invitation for them as well, right? And then if they can get that deal cut, they can come back to the table, push the red nuclear option button, blow up the ACC, and everybody goes on their way. And yes, there will be teams left hung out to dry. For sure, there will be. But nobody cares about that. Scratch that. Nobody within the power structure of college football cares about that, right? The Big 12 and the Big 10 did not give a good gosh darn that the Pac-12 is now hung out to dry, that the oldest and most successful conference in football history just doesn't exist anymore. They didn't care. So that's not going to change with anybody else. Lonzo, what's the only thing that the people at the top of this structure give a damn about? There ain't but one.
Yeah, it's money, obviously. And I'm still shocked the ACC didn't say yes.
They haven't said no.
Okay.
And that's the interesting part. They haven't said no. Here's what we know. There was a meeting last night amongst a small group of ACC presidents. We do not know which presidents were in that group. There's really, to me, two guesses. Either it was the presidents of the 4 teams that said no, UNC, NC State, FSU, and Clemson, and they got together and said, what do we demand for us to change our votes to a yes? What do you, as an individual school, right? Because only one of them needs to change their vote. So I think they may have been building a little coalition. What will make you say yes for your school so that we can kind of figure out what our bottom tier is, that we will collectively agree not to say yes unless these conditions are met for all 4 of us? Or it was a group of the rest of the ACC's presidents going, what do we need to promise to FSU, Clemson, North Carolina, and North Carolina State to try to flip one of them? And this is where I really, Lonzo, want to go grab the tinfoil and put on the tinfoil cap. Because if you're a president that said yes, keep in mind, you don't need to change the minds of all 4. You got to change the minds of 1.
So who's the weak link?
Who's the weak link?
Who's the one they're going after?
Exactly.
Because they only need one.
Exactly. What team do we go after? What team do we push up against? What team do we try to kind of strong arm into ditching the other 3 and giving us a yes? Because here's the thing. We don't need them all. It's the old expression. If a bear attacks a group of people, Lonzo, you don't have to be the fastest guy. You just got to be not the slowest guy.
Or not the sturdy guy.
Right.
If you're not the sturdy guy, you're going to survive. The sturdy guy, he's supper.
It's real simple. The rest of the opponents are the Bear, or the rest of the ACC presidents are the Bear, and they're just trying to figure out who's the slowest guy. Probably NC State, right? Who's the slowest guy, and what do we need to do to lure him into the trap, to change their mind and say yes, because it only takes one.
Or you go after a certain school because they are the big dog or cat in the ACC. If you turn them, the other ones are going to
Here's the
go.
fun part. They are the big dogs on the football field. In the world of finances, Florida State is more valuable than Clemson right now. That is just a hard number. That's not a call in with your opinions. I'm telling you, financially speaking, Florida State is more valuable than Clemson.
Gee, what he said about them Tigers, he said he was.
I ain't never listened again.
I'm going to go. I know where I'm going to go. I'm going to listen in the afternoon.
This is not just about let's get the best football program again. And I've tried to say this to you guys a number of times. You have to take out of your mind, we want the best football teams. No, you do not. You don't want the best football teams. You want the most profitable athletic departments. That's what you want. Now, the more success you have on the football field, the more likely it is that you are amongst that group. But it is not about getting the best teams in your conference. It's about getting the most financially lucrative teams in your conference. That's FSU and that's Clemson right now.
Yeah, but if you're Clemson, why do you not want them in? Because as we've talked about before, and it is the truth, whether Clemson fans like it or not, outside of this area, no one's even they know Clemson won the championship a couple times. They have no idea who Clemson is. They could care less about Clemson. But you put them over there on the other coast, you're going to get a lot more exposure at night. So, I mean, because I'm guessing, well, do you play some Pacific time games if you bring those teams in?
As the Big Ten is currently proving to us right this second, none of that matters. None of it matters. No. Ohio State is going to, within the next 3 years, Lonzo, they are going to be playing a game that you are going to see Ohio State USC kick off at 10 p.m. on the East Coast at the earliest.
We'll see.
It's not a we'll see. That is a promise. That is a guarantee. That is a nationally highlighted game that the Big Ten has on a national television contract,
which is why
on the left coast.
Which is why it will play on Eastern Coast time because Ohio State has the power in that situation.
No, they don't, because USC is every bit as financially valuable as Ohio State. This is what I've been trying to drill down. Records and championships and titles, none of that boat matters. The only thing that matters is the value. And Los Angeles is the #1 television market in America. That is the power. USC and UCLA are in the Big Ten not because of their football historicity, not because of their legacy, not because of the banners hanging. USC and UCLA are in the Big Ten because they are the two crown jewels of the biggest television market in America and literally nothing else. So when Ohio State and Michigan State fly out to California in a couple of years to take on the Trojans, to take on UCLA, to take on the Bruins, those games are being played primetime left coast because Ohio's irrelevant. What's relevant is the LA market.
All right.
That's why they're there.
All right. First of all, saying Ohio is irrelevant is so wrong. But the other thing is I don't believe it. I'll believe it when I see it.
Okay. I'm okay. Let me rephrase that.
I'm gonna use some Rob Brown doubt here and say until I see it, I don't think that's going to happen.
I accept that. And I'm also going to tell you that this is not a prediction, it's a spoiler. All right? It just is. So, all of that being said, why would the ACC consider adding these three teams again? Reconsider adding these three teams. Because Cal and Stanford have said, we will take a 30% reduction for X amount of years in the money that the ACC owes for us to play under their banner. That 30% from those two schools is going to total up somewhere in the network of $50 to $70 million. You've got to offset for every school. You've got to offset the travel cost for all of those teams to get to California. For all, when I say teams, I'm talking basketball, lacrosse, cross country, soccer, yada, yada, yada. Once those costs come out, whatever's left over is profit. And don't be surprised, by the way, if in order to talk one of those four teams into saying yes, that extra revenue that's left over from not paying SMU, there's, I don't know, $30 to $50 million a year for 5 years, plus another $20 million a year for a couple of years out of UCLA and USC. Scratch that. Stanford and Cal. If all that money is divided up, but there is a unequal distribution of that money, and those last four schools get a little extra something to sweeten the pot, right? The ACC will pay the travel cost for FSU, North Carolina State, and Clemson, or whatever. I don't know. Again, I'm just spitballing here. But don't be shocked if that is what they do in order to get that one more vote to get these three schools in. So there's one more element to this, and then we'll run to a break. The ACC's television contract with ESPN includes a clause that requires the network to increase the value of that deal by 1 share for every new member, which works out to about $24 million. So you add 3 more members. And you are going to up the cost. You're going to up the pay by $72 million a year annually from ESPN to the ACC. Plus, with the addition, Cal's share of that, only 70% goes to them. Stanford's share of that 72 mil, plus what they would be getting paid on the current deal, only goes to them. And SMU's entire share comes back to the ACC to be distributed amongst their current members. So this is a give and take. It's a negotiation. It's bargaining, right? They just got to win over one. We'll see if this was enough to do it. A couple of texts real quick. Texter said, I'm a Michigan fan, and it hurts to say this. OSU is not irrelevant. That's a double negative. So you were saying they are irrelevant. No, they're not irrelevant. Ohio State is, according to Forbes, the single most valuable college athletic department in America right now is the Ohio State Buckeyes. But the LA market is by far and away the number one TV market. And that is why this deal got signed. So they are going to give some leverage to SC, and those games will be at nighttime. Texter said, Gamecock mentality, turn and fight the bear. I respect that. Texter said, Lonzo, minor correction, a couple is 2. Clemson has won a few natties, whereas the Gamecocks have won none. I like it. I like the kick under the desk text. Texter said, ACC should focus on courting West Virginia and Notre Dame, not some garbage team. They're not recruiting Notre Dame. Notre Dame ain't coming, my dude, because Notre Dame makes as much, if not more money from their individual contract with NBC than they would make from the ACC playing there. Now, Notre Dame will join a conference one day, but it will only join the conference when a conference can offer more to Notre Dame than NBC does as a contract. So there you go.
All right. When we come back, he'll tell you what a rasher is. We need a hard out, just in case.
My name is Rob Brown. The great one Lonzo's on the ones and twos. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to The Rob Brown Show. You're listening to The Fan Upstate.
All right. So it just played that, but would it do that in 2?
We'll find out when we come back.
I mean, I'm cool with just. So why would that
Drop some music into 2.
I've just been accused of using black magic by Lonzo. Can't prove it.
It's so funny how people hate Ohio.
That's one of the features of black magic.
Well, yeah,
Kind of the
exactly.
point.
Yeah, I mean it's dark, it's underneath. It's
Surreptitious.
not announcing, hey, look at this.
Actually, Big Staple Kids Honey is just for kids, specially designed to treat kids' most bothersome cold symptoms quickly with a honeylicious tasting flavor.
Honeylicious.
You know what else kids like?
Big Cool Kids Honey first.
Staying home from school.
Well, yeah.
Vicks Dayquil Kids
Wait,
Honey.
he's staying home and he's gonna get to play video games? What's up with that? Let's incentive to stay home more.
Bo Dallas.
That's not Bo Dallas.
Believe.
I don't know. Somebody it
They-
says Bo Dallas.
They
I
say
believe.
Bo Dallas, but it's not. It's Ortiz showing back up. But how he's dressed, he looks like Bo Dallas. Yeah.
Oh. No. Sorry, I was thinking Bo Duke. It's not Bo Duke either.
No, it's not. I got that. There we go. I'll just stay there. Because the video is distracting and I keep looking. So every time it flashes, I will look up.
Oh my
You just now figure out what that was? Yeah.
What? That is terrible.
Yeah, because Trump would have looked a lot younger at that point. I'm thinking.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
but
I still believe as well, James.
what is James? Bowley.
Get in the game on the Rob Brown
Still did it.
Show.
The Fan. Upstate.
All right, I'll just say one more thing. Then I'm going to tell you what a rasher is. Then we're going to go to a break. The ACC absolutely wants Notre Dame. You know who else wants Notre Dame? The Big Ten and the Southeastern Conference. Both of them would take that school immediately. They are within the Big Ten footprint. The Southeastern Conference growing their footprint, but doing so slowly to get a foothold in the Midwest. In South Bend, Indiana, would absolutely be something they do, especially with the value that Notre Dame adds to the conference. Why is Notre Dame not in the conference? The answer is very simple, because right now, the contract that Notre Dame has with CBS is just more valuable than the contracts that they would sign with those conferences. All right. Right now, Notre Dame is getting about $75 million a year from NBC. That number will go up as time marches on, right? Because I think a lot of people have said, well, Rob, the SEC within 5 years could be paying their teams as much as $100 million. And I don't disagree, but see, here's the thing. NBC is going to negotiate too, because NBC doesn't want to lose Notre Dame. They understand how valuable that franchise is. So if the SEC goes 100 mil, there's a very good chance that NBC will match the SEC and be able to say to Notre Dame, not only will we match that, but you are the crown jewel, right? The SEC's contract's 100 mil, but these schools are not going to be playing every game on a dedicated network. They don't have when SEC is advertised, it's not Alabama. It's the SEC, followed by the teams that are playing that week. On NBC, when you're watching commercials, what do you see? You just get Notre Dame. You understand how big of a recruiting tool that is, both for the team and the college itself? It's huge. So if NBC goes 100 mil and you are the crown jewel, you are the individual school that catches ads, that's the sell. They're not going to go. The only way to get Notre Dame out of that contract and into a conference is to be able to offer them more than NBC does. Problem is, what conference is going to have teams that go, yeah, we are totally fine if you take money from us to give it to a team that you now want to make a conference opponent? Nobody's going to do that, right? No schools are going to sign off on that. So unless the SEC is going to go and offer, or the Big Ten is going to offer a media rights agreement payout to Notre Dame that is more than NBC, and oh, by the way, also to the other 16, 18, 20 schools in that conference, Notre Dame's fine right where they are. The ACC can beg and plead all they want, but it's not going to happen. Texas said the ACC is helping Notre Dame by allowing them to play their teams and be conferenceless. They need to cut them off. Here's the problem. Notre Dame's a draw, right? Notre Dame's a draw. Notre Dame makes money for the ACC by being a football-only member that's not a member. The ACC makes money off of that. So it's like, yeah, on one hand, you would go, why would you continue to do that when Notre Dame is not letting you make that money? The answer is because you are making money. Not as much as if Notre Dame was a full member, but you can't afford Notre Dame as a full member. So all you do is reap the benefits of being in their presence, right? It's like being friends with benefits like somebody you really are in love with. You can't have all the benefits of real love, so you're going to take what you can get. And also, a rasher is a thin slice of bacon or ham that can be fried or broiled. Rashers are often served for breakfast and may also be known as slices, strips, or collops. It is also a collective group of rashers is known as a rasher. A rasher is effectively a pot or a bowl, a serving of thin cut bacon. I had never heard it called that before.
Or a pack of bacon.
Or a pack of bacon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had never heard it called that before in my life, y'all. Texter said Terry Funk was a legendary rasher, RIP. We got to talk Terry Funk later. I don't know, 11:20? Fight Club! We're back after this on the Rob Brown Show with the Fan Upstate.
All right, so he has no idea why it's doing it.
Cool.
But I can, as I just did, fire it from using the cursor instead of the auto starts on the board. Wow. He doesn't believe it's because of what, but it's got to be, man. Unless everything is deciding to stop working all at the same time, which I guess feasibly could be.
That was authoritative, Christopher.
He used his his foot.
I have a brainwave.
You have a brainwave? Just the one?
Yes. Pull up wide orbit on this computer.
All right, where was it?
It's the little gears icon. It doesn't. It's not obvious. Yes, that.
I can't see. Oh, there it is. There you go. All right, which one?
Close it. Menu.
This?
You could do that, but just go to menu, exit application. Yes.
Okay.
Now I want to see how the console starts working.
Yeah, but I won't do it right now.
No.
Okay.
I mean,
all right.
in just a minute.
Okay. All right. Because not only did that.
Oh, that's timing.
Not only did that not work, it grabbed the thing from it actually worked the way I thought it would, but still. Although Rob nearly ruined it by turning his mic on at the exact moment when I was trying to listen, which is why I had to.
I think because we had both clients open, it was receiving the signal twice.
Okay. So it's like double tapping.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I don't think LeBron leaving a place is a thing because he also left Miami, and he'll end up leaving LA eventually too.
He left Ohio twice.
Yeah, whatever. Ohio is cold and gray in the winter. You know what isn't? South Carolina. And all you weirdos who want snow, go to the mountains and shut up.
No.
Yes.
South Carolina is cold and gray in the winter.
Not like Ohio, it's not.
When it snows, it's cold and white.
No.
We get rain.
Did you just say white?
He said white.
Yes.
It wasn't. Yes.
Yes.
I
actually had
wheat
to explain this
bread.
to my son the other day because he tried to spell the word when.
Whip.
When.
When.
Winter.
And
When we
spelled
go
it-
to another break, I hope
he
it
spelled
works.
No, you people
You'll just have
make
to
me want to
wait
use
to find
language that I
out.
can't use in the radio.
Yeah, I would rather you didn't do
Yeah.
the language thing. Yeah.
But he was trying to spell when, and he spelled it W-E-N. I was like, that's exactly how it sounds when people pronounce it, but it actually has an H in it, and I make a point to pronounce the H.
Yeah,
You
but
just kinda
you're
blow a little bit.
you're like the
when you
only
pronounce
one,
W.
the only one
When.
that I know that does that. So I mean,
You need to know more people.
no, I don't. No, I don't.
No, I don't. I don't want to do that. That sounds awful.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot more small talk. We know I don't do that.
I think about this segment every single time I walk into a bathroom now.
You're welcome.
Does it bother you though when there's an entire wall of urinals, you're in one, and the guy walks up to the one right next to you? It's just a little bit like, dude, you got all that. Why, what you up to?
I'll put it this way. I'm secure enough in my masculinity that I don't care, but there's that lizard brain part of me in the back that's like, that's not the rules, man.
Great show, new time.
We
It's a
have
good segment.
We have fun here.
It's a good cut.
We have fun here.
I'm an award-winning producer, Chris.
I know you're an award-winning producer.
Are you ready for the ultimate adrenaline-packed high school
I have worked with you.
Yes, you have.
You were very good at your job, frankly.
Not today. I'm not.
Well,
Definitely not yesterday.
Everybody has on days and off days. I had to explain to
Actually,
Lexington one time.
Actually, my board work was,
I've been
great yesterday.
I've been running Tara's show for 6 years and haven't had a perfect show yet. Can always be better.
I've had perfect shows. So
I've had very good shows.
yeah, I mean, when I say perfect, ran everything on the board perfect, no glitches, no nothing like that. On air, I'm always going to say something stupid. Gable's in the first break.
All right.
What?
Click that button.
Do what?
Oh,
Yeah.
it's not happening here.
No, you're gonna have to. Wait till- Sorry.
Odds out.
How's that my fault? You know how things work. You just said.
Our número dos is underway now. Welcome back, y'all. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Howdy. What's happening? Y'all doing all right?
Deuces, ooses.
Deuces. I suspect that topic might make its way onto Fight Club in about an hour and 20 minutes. Right before that, we will be joined by U.S. men's national soccer team legend and current manager of your Greenville Triumph, who, by the way, got a big 2-1 win over Chattanooga yesterday at the house, and then they turn it around and run it back on Saturday when they go game 2 of the doubleheader. We'll talk with John Harkes, manager of the Greenville Triumph, coming up in 1 hour from right now. So you net heads, stick around. We'll probably get his thoughts on one other topic in the discussion, and that topic is, of course, who did it again last night? A 97th minute bit of wizardry.
I don't get the surprise. He did it again last night. This guy's like the best in the world. Of course he did.
Yeah, but it's just it's how he's doing it.
Well, he's doing it over here where obviously the talent is inferior and it's easier for him.
You want to hear something hilarious? He doesn't pull passes or rabbits out of his hat. he pulls kangaroos to stick his flaming spear into his opponents. That was the call that man made on national television last night.
I was having a little trouble getting past how he says pass, because it did not sound like pass.
It didn't, but it was
sounded like
hilarious.
something that comes out of an oozing wound.
That's an incredible call. Incredible call.
That's more proof you could just throw out anything in the middle of a call and just, yeah.
He doesn't pull rabbits out of his hat. He pulls kangaroos like flaming spears to stick into his opponents.
I think the
It's the
question
greatest
is,
call of all time.
can you top that this Friday when the Burns Rebels play Chapman?
On the road in Inman, South Carolina, taking on Chapman. The Rebels go for win number 2. By the way, did get a chance yesterday to sit down with head coach of the Burns Rebels, Reggie Shaw. That pregame interview will be heard tomorrow at 7 when we go pregame for Burns at Chapman. I will also potentially, I don't know, we might play it on the air tomorrow. We might give a little sneak peek on the Rob Brown Show on the Friday edition. It is High School Friday. We'll see. See how I'm feeling. Anyway, Messi did it again. We'll talk. I will ask John Harkes about that later. Just what's his thoughts on that? Because I think it's good for American soccer.
So you're avoiding it. You're not gonna throw out something like that.
I
on that game.
cannot equate like a flaming spear into the heart of his opponents. I don't know that I can come up with that.
You did throw the children's book thing out there. That was
good.
pretty. Yeah, that was.
That was good.
I would put that on par with that.
Yeah.
Except without, you have passion when you did that too. So yeah, I'm the only thing you're missing is the accent.
Ain't wrong. Maybe I'll start calling Burns games in a Scottish accent, but only the highlights. All right.
You won't.
No, you are correct. I absolutely will not. I like my job. I would like to continue doing it. We, earlier this week, great one, you and I, gave out our final 4 predictions for the college football playoff. We put them together earlier in the week. I went at number 1 with 13-0 Michigan. Number 2, 12-1 Florida State. Number 3, 12-1 LSU. And number 4, 12-1 Georgia. You led with number 1, 13-0 Big Ten champions Ohio State. Number 2, 13-0 undefeated SEC champions Georgia. Number 3, a dark horse. How about Notre Dame? And you went with number 4, also out of the Big Ten, the University of Michigan. So between the two of us, we both had Michigan. We both have Georgia. My other 2 were FSU and LSU. Your other 2 were Notre Dame and Ohio State. But let's take a look at some dark horses. Let's talk about some teams that we think could potentially spoil the party. Now, these aren't necessarily teams that I think are national championship contenders. These aren't necessarily teams that I think will be in the dance when it's all said and done. But these are teams that could theoretically spoil, Zoe, the seasons of your 4 playoff contenders and mine. Okay? Let us start with somebody that could spoil mine. Let's start with somebody in the ACC. Now, this is not a team that I believe in. This is not a team that I think has the caliber to compete for the conference. This is not a team that I have any fear of for any of my playoff contenders, including one who plays them about halfway through the season, and that is the University of Miami. Miami is 40-1. 40-1 to make it to the college football playoffs. It's a long shot. It's not ridiculous, but it's a long shot. There are some sleepers out there in the ACC people are talking about. I was on the air a couple of weeks ago with Ryan Horvat from BetQL. He told me he's big on Pitt as a potential spoiler. I was on with PJ Glasser last week. He said that he believes that Louisville is a potential spoiler. I think you've got to put Miami in this group. I do not think that Miami is on par with Florida State. I do not think that Miami is on par with Clemson. I do think that Miami might be good enough to jump up and potentially get either one of those teams. It could be in the regular season. And I suspect that if it's going to be, that's where it would happen. But Miami has Florida State later in the season. They have Clemson in mid-October. They play both of those teams in the regular season, which means that with 2 really good days, Miami could end up in an ACC championship game, which means either Clemson or Florida State would not. Now, remember, I put FSU in my Final Four, but I said it's truly FSU/Clemson. The winner of the Atlantic Coast Conference, provided that they have 12 wins in total, will go into that slot. The winner of FSU-Clemson season series, if it comes down to the ACC championship. I think Miami could be the wrecking ball. Because that's the thing, again, I don't believe in Miami. But I've had a lot of people tell me the Canes are a different team this year. Last year, Mario Cristobal had a couple of new coordinators in the position, including one of them, Josh Gaddis, on offense. Last year's Miami offense was miserable. Last year, they had quarterback Tyler Van Dyke behind the center. Tyler Van Dyke was projected to be an All-American caliber player. Tyler Van Dyke last year was nowhere to be found. Last year, defensively, Miami was one of the poorest defensively disciplined teams I have ever seen. Both of those coordinators are now gone. And Mario Cristobal, who I think recognizes, I heard at the ACC Media Days, Cristobal twice to his face get asked, did your team give up last year? Did your team give up last year? And, he gave some answers that were along the lines of, well, we got disappointed, and I think it got in our heads a little. Yes, they did, Mario. We have televisions. We saw it. They did. But Cristobal, interestingly enough, did put a lot of time into trying to build the roster this year through recruiting, through the portal. He keeps Tyler Van Dyke, who had a great 2021 year, just a miserable 2022. A lot of it blamed on the coordinator. But now they bring in Shannon Dawson as the coordinator. Shannon Dawson is an air raid offensive coordinator. He wants to go 4 and 5 wide, open the offense up, and Van Dyke is kind of that guy. Then you go look at what Miami did across the offensive line. Lonzo, you and I interviewed Matt Lee, or listened to the interview with Matt Lee. Matt Lee was the starting center. He transferred over from UCF, where he was a full-time starter. He will be the same there. Big video game dork, big food guy. Like the guy. They bring in Javion Cohen. He's a transfer from the University of Alabama. If there's one position at Alabama that has never been in question under Nick Saban, it's the offensive line. And they went and got one of Saban's fellows to come on over. Now, why am I not high on Miami? 2 things. Number 1, attitude. This team always is incredibly emotional. It's the Miami way. So I don't think that there's a point where Miami's going to really plant the flag and go, we're here. I think once something goes wrong for Miami, then they kind of fold. And I'm worried about that. The second thing that I'm worried about for the Hurricanes is the fact that the running back room is decent at best, and there's really no star power at wide receiver. Now, that's not to say they won't have a couple of guys break out. They've got some young guys in that wide receiver room. But I don't see anybody that I circle and go, watch out for this guy as a breakout star. They have got Texas A&M on the road in week number 3. They got North Carolina at home coming off the bye in week 6. They've got Duke at home, which is good. They've got Florida State at home, which is good. They do have to come to Clemson and then back home for Pitt to end the year. Miami, if they are as good as a lot of the media at ACC Media Days were trying to sell me on them being, could get one of the 2, Clemson or Florida State. That FSU game's a rivalry game. Those 2 teams do not like each other, not even a little. I have seen over the years guys who played high school ball together in Florida throwing fists at each other because of the schools they signed on to play football for. That's a rivalry game. And on top of that, Miami, knowing that the path to a playoff is not a great one, But you know what they can do? They get a couple of wins over FSU and Clemson. They could put themselves in the picture for an ACC title. How big would that be for Mario Cristobal after what happened last year? I would keep an eye out for them. Here's another one. How about Kansas State? You will notice, Zoe, that between you and I and our two Final Four projections, neither one of us has a Big 12 team in the mix. Neither one of us picked Texas or Oklahoma or anybody else. And I'm going to tell you why I didn't pick Texas or Oklahoma. Kansas State. Kansas State is the reason. Kansas State can win one, if not both of those games. Now, Texas and Oklahoma are the two betting favorites to win the conference. Texas is in a bet that if any of you take, I need you to seek counseling. Texas is plus 325 to make the college football playoff. To make the playoff, they're plus 325. I don't understand that at all. Oklahoma is plus 600. They're 6-1 to make the playoff. I don't understand what about Oklahoma everybody's all on board for a bounce back with. I don't get it. Do you remember who won the Big 12 last year?
No.
Kansas State won the Big 12 last year. Kansas State won the Big 12 last year. Now, they did lose some big-name players. Deuce Vaughn is now in the NFL. Anaduke Azoma is now in the NFL. He was their pass rush specialist last year, but they've got Will Howard back at quarterback. Howard led them to a Big 12 title last year. Florida State has Trey Benson in the backfield, which meant there wasn't going to be a lot of room. They had another running back last year, some of you might remember, named Trayshawn Ward. Trayshawn Ward is now with Kansas State. Trayshawn Ward would start on about 75% of the Power 5 teams. He just was behind Trey Benson, who is electric. Trayshawn Ward is a game changer. They also brought in Keegan Johnson from Iowa as a wide receiver. He wasn't going to get a lot of big-time plays at Iowa. He will at Kansas State. That's why he moved down. That guy is a name I want you to keep an eye on. And oh, by the way, Lonzo, I mention this word all the time when I'm doing conference previews and breakdowns. Consistency, right? Consistency. Are you consistent in your play calling? Are you consistent in your coaching strategy? Are you consistent with your players? There is not much more you can ask for, Zoe, than all 5 starting offensive linemen coming back from a conference championship team.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. They have that. They have that. Kansas State could absolutely knock off Texas and Oklahoma. Kansas State could, without a doubt in my brain, win the Big 12 again, which takes Texas and Oklahoma out. Now, again, I don't have either one of them in my playoff 4, neither does the great one. But what I can tell you is a lot of people do. A lot of people are giving me the horns up, saying, oh, it's it. Texas is back. Texas is back, baby! And as always, I'll tell you, I believe it when I see it. You know when I'll say Texas is back? When they're back.
So you're saying your horns are down?
I am. Horns down. Is this still a hate crime? No, you know what? The SEC said you can do this when Texas comes.
Absolutely. So people will.
Horns down. Anyway, point of all that is I would keep an eye out there. Lonzo, we've done the ACC. We've done the Big 12. How about a spoiler out of the Big 10? I'm going to give you one right now. I might have gotten under the skin of the boss earlier when we kind of made some jokes at the expense of the Kansas City Royals.
Oh, you're not going after Iowa, are you?
No.
You're gonna praise Iowa.
I am propping up the Iowa Hawkeyes.
All right.
I am propping up the Iowa Hawkeyes. All right. The top of the Big 10 East is loaded. It is a top-heavy conference. Wisconsin is the odds-on favorite to win the Big 10 West. They're 10-1. All right. They are plus 1,000 to reach the playoffs. Now, why is that? Well, because the schedule sets up well for as difficult as it very well might be. But they have one game to take off the best of the East. Michigan or Ohio State, likely to move on. Let's look at Iowa because nobody's talking about them. They have, as far as I am concerned, they have one big challenge out of the gate that I am concerned about. And that one big challenge out of the gate is they are going to catch Penn State in week 4. I don't necessarily love that. And by the way, that game's at 7:30, which means Penn State's probably going to break out the whiteout against Iowa in week 4. Outside of Iowa, they do not have Ohio State on the schedule. They do not have Michigan on the schedule. They've got Utah State, Iowa State in week 2, Western Michigan at Penn State, Michigan State, Purdue. They are at Wisconsin, then Minnesota, then Northwestern, Rutgers, Illinois, and at Nebraska for Matt Rule's first year. That's, as far as I'm concerned, that's an 11-1 schedule at the best. That is 10-2 realistically. It's 9-3 at its worst, and it is good enough unless Luke Fickell's Wisconsin team is just for real. It is good enough to just outpace Wisconsin and make it into the Big Ten championship game. And if they do, Iowa, who I think will not be as beat up, because Lonzo, remind me, who does Ohio State play in the final week of the regular season? Top of your head?
That team up north.
That would be that team up north. Who does that team up north play in the last week of the regular season?
The Ohio State.
That is correct, which means a week later, those two teams will just have both come off of back-to-back very physical games to end the season. Iowa will not have. I would catch us some rest towards the end of the year. Wisconsin does have a schedule. They've got Iowa on it, as we mentioned, but they've also got Ohio State, and then they've got a long road trip to end the season. I think they are on the road for like the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season. I think Wisconsin should be better than Iowa. But if Iowa can snipe Wisconsin in the regular season, they really don't have, outside of Penn State, anybody else on that schedule that threatens me. Iowa could steal the Big Ten. How about in the Pac-12 as we run from conference to conference and we're taking a look at dark horses? How about the Pac-12? UCLA. UCLA is absolutely a dark horse. Number one, Chip Kelly's there. And for all the jokes about Chip Kelly in the NFL, Chip Kelly has been a wonderfully consistent coach at the college level. UCLA was picked 6th in the preseason Pac-12 media poll behind USC, Washington, Utah, Oregon, and Oregon State. But there are some interesting things going on. Biggest problem they have is the quarterback. Dorian Thompson-Robinson was their quarterback last year. He was a 5-year starter. He's in the league now. So now they've got a decision to make if they're going to go with a vet or they're going to go with a 5-star freshman recruit, Dante Moore. That's my guess. He's a little bit more wide open. Chip Kelly loves that spot, and Chip Kelly said that they are just going to go on offense this year. Here's my favorite part. UCLA might have the best set up schedule in the Pac-12 this year. They catch a few breaks in their schedule this year. And that is why I think they are a spoiler. Coastal Carolina at San Diego State, NC Central, and then probably the toughest game they have on the schedule outside of USC, they've got to go to Utah. Then they got Washington State, winnable. They are at Oregon State. Unless you think DJ Uiagalelei has found his next gear as a Beav, they can win that game. They're at Stanford. They got Dion's Colorado. They're at Arizona, all winnable games. Arizona State. Then they're at USC, and then back home for Cal to end the year in the trio of Cali games. I don't think they can win at USC. I do not know if they can win at Utah. I'm picking Utah on that one. But that's 10-2. And if they can get one of those two upsets, they could be in the Pac-12 championship. They are one of the reasons that, again, neither Lonzo or I have a single Pac-12 team between our two Final Four teams. And then I will wrap it up in the Southeastern Conference. Who's the team that can play spoiler in the SEC? It is not Ole Miss. A lot of people have said Ole Miss. I don't like it. I don't love it. I don't want some more of it. Kentucky. I've thought about this Kentucky team a lot. This Kentucky team won 10 games in 2021. They did go 7-6 last year, and that was with Will Levis. But keep in mind, Will Levis was banged up in a couple of games, including that South Carolina game. I don't know if the Gamecocks win that game if Will Levis is healthy. I know they went in there and they beat Kentucky with the lineup that they were there. But here's the problem for everybody that's got a lineup against Kentucky. They brought over NC State quarterback Devin Leary. Devin Leary can ball. He did miss half of last season with an injury. But before that injury, In 2021, Dennis Leary threw for 3,433 yards, 35 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. He completed over 65.5% of his completion percentage. Now he goes to play with offensive coordinator Liam Cohen, who went to the league, wasn't great, came back, but is wide open. That is an upgraded OC. That is a massive upgrade at QB under that OC. Leary is, I'm going to tell you right now, Devin Leary is better than Will Levis at Kentucky. He will be a better fit and will put up better numbers.
I'm glad you fixed it because you said Dennis Leary.
Dennis
a little
Leary.
bit earlier. I'm like,
Devin Leary.
Yeah. It's like, wait, what?
I was going to do a Dennis Leary impression, but I can't. Devin Leary.
Yeah, I'd have to push the button.
Did you ever watch Rescue Me? That's a great show.
I did not.
Great show. Anyway, with Devin Leary, definitely not 60-year-old Irish Boston actor Dennis Leary back there. With Devin Leary back there, this offense can be wide open. I have questions about the defense, and that's my problem. I have questions about the offensive line. That's where South Carolina has to be at its best across the front seven defensively. But if you can't keep up, if they find anything across the offensive line, Kentucky could absolutely be a dark horse out of the SEC. So there you go. There are some dark horse picks that could be playing spoiler this year across all 5 Power 5 conferences. Who are yours? Who's the team that's nobody's talking about? Who's the team nobody's given a shot to that you think could be a player at the end of the year? That's the great one. I'm Rob Brown. The Rob Brown Show's in your ear holes. It is the Fan Upstate.
Gables.
All right, guys, live read. Stay right there. We will be right back. All right, dudes and dudettes, thanks for hanging in there.
Even putting back a few.
Kevin said, couldn't disagree more. If the Gamecocks don't upset the Bulldogs will run through the rest of the NCAA by a buttload of points if we're throwing out hypotheticals. Georgia, I don't think Georgia's as good this year as they were last year, man. They lost 10 players to the NFL draft. 10. Almost half of their starters last year went to the league this year. I don't see how they're better this year. Mizzou almost got them last year. Ohio State did get them last year and just blew it. I can't see Lonzo's face, but I imagine it looks like he's in pain right now. I mean, I've got him in the playoff. So does Lonzo. I think that's about as much as I'm going to give him right now.
You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-700-6898. That's 800-700-6898 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-700-6898.
Ooh, Lonzo. Not even in the neighborhood.
When's the last time I did this?
Closer. There it is. Just had to dial in. I didn't hear glass, though.
All right, it's been a couple months. The glass thing is dumb to me. Still means 2 points. There we go. I get it if you're in the neighborhood. We ain't in the neighborhood, though. It's a big time, man. I never even heard that in my neighborhood. Of course, we probably weren't very good at basketball, so maybe that's why. Where did that come from? Saying you had to call glass. That's only in like pig or out or horse.
Well, because if you call the glass, it says I've got the touch to be able to redirect a shot. If you don't call glass, it means it was a terrible shot and I got lucky.
I get why.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand. You also came way too late.
Sorry.
The Rob Brown Show continues. It is the Fan Upstate. Coming up here in about 28 minutes, we'll be joined by John Harkes. He is the manager of the Greenville Triumph, USMNT legend. We'll talk some footy with Harkesy. We'll ask him his thoughts on Lionel Messi and how good that is for American soccer, if it is. And then, of course, the segment following that. It's Thursday. You know what that means. Time for Fight Club with the great one. We'll get you caught up on everything that's gone down since SummerSlam and get you ready for All Elite Wrestling's All In this Sunday live from Wembley Stadium in London, England. And I will also tell you, Zoe, that I did not watch AEW yet. So I have no idea what happened last night at all, which I don't know.
There was nothing
of major consequence?
Well,
it was a go-home show. And there was
one thing that may have had ramifications of what's going to happen.
Okay.
And it has to do with one wrestler joining to go up against another one. But we'll talk about that, and it won't be that big of a deal.
Yes, we will. That is coming up later on in the show. Looking forward to it at 11:20. All right. A few other things that I wanted to get into on the radio broadcast this morning. If you'd like to be a part of it, 844-326-3663 is the number. Let's talk Carolina Panthers. Actually, you know what? Let me read this text. We got a couple of texts and tweets from you guys during that last segment. I'll run through those real quick. Texter said, Rob, everything you said about Jimbo Fisher applies more to Mac Brown than anyone else. Talk about riding a championship team with a mediocre career record. I'm going to tell you this. First and foremost, Mac Brown has the best shoe game in the game. All right? So whatever else you want to think about, Mac Brown has got the best game when it comes to kicks of any coach. That man is dripped every time he goes anywhere. And he's always matched up. Mac Brown's been in the game 34 years. He has a head coaching record of 268, 139, and 1. He has a 658 win percentage during his time at major schools. He has played 25 bowl games. He is 14-11 with a 56 win percentage during his career. Look, I think Mac Brown is fine, right? I think Mac Brown is fine. I think he's probably the best North Carolina was able to do. I will say this, I truly genuinely believe that Mac Brown has elevated North Carolina, right? Folks are talking right now about North Carolina as a light dark horse to win the ACC this year. Now, I don't think Carolina's in Florida State's realm. I don't think they're in Clemson's realm, for the record. But I think with Drake May, it's absolutely fair to call them a dark horse. Mac Brown won a national championship in 2005, 2 Big 12 championships, and 6 Big 12 South Division championships. Also won the ACC last year. Team's good, man. Team's good. Mac Brown's good. Do I think that Mac Brown is amongst the Sabans and the Dabos of the world? No, not at all. But for what North Carolina is, and to get where North Carolina wants to go, Mac Brown fits. Texas said, I'm not sure, Rob. I'm leaning South Carolina 10-2 with an SEC championship. Do you mean SEC East? Because I got to be real with you, Texter. All due respect, they're not winning the SEC East, dude. Georgia is still there, right? Now, Kevin hit us up on the stream, which you can watch at facebook.com/thefanupstate, twitter.com/thefanupstate, the Fan Upstate on YouTube, or the Rob Brown Show on Twitch. Kev hit us up. He said, Rob, couldn't disagree more. If the Gamecocks don't accept the Bulldogs will run through the rest of the NCAA by a boatload of points. Look, Georgia is still very good. Nobody's arguing that Georgia is anything less than very good. My point remains, Georgia lost 10 players to the draft, including their starting quarterback, including a couple of big defensive linemen, including one who was a top 10 draft pick, who, by the way, fell. If Jalen Carter didn't have all the off-season drama and all the off-road drama, Jalen Carter was going in the top 3, maybe top 2 picks of the NFL draft this year. And they lost that guy, all right? They lost a lot. I think Georgia's still going to be really good. I just don't think they're going to be as dominant as they were last year. That being said, Georgia catches the benefit of having the easiest schedule in the Southeastern Conference this year. The football gods smiled upon UGA when these schedules were crafted. They got the easiest schedule in the SEC. That is why they will be 12-0. And on top of that, now, Lonzo's got him 13-0 winning the Southeastern Conference. I'm going 12-1. They drop it to LSU in the SEC final. Because I think LSU will be battle-tested at that point. They will have seen better opponents more frequently and will have the kinks worked out a little better than Georgia, even though it is the SEC championship after the regular season. But we'll see. South Carolina going 10-2. I've said a number of times, Zoe, I can see the Gamecocks being 6-6. I can see them being 10-2, and I can see them being any number in the middle. And frankly, I don't know, but that was the problem the last couple of years, inconsistency. The team that could go to Gainesville and lose by 38 to the Gators then comes around and hangs 63 on Tennessee a week later. I don't know which one of those teams is the one that shows up more frequently this year, and that's why 6-6 is a reality, 10-2 is a reality, and I'm picking 8-4 right in the middle.
Well, that team, the last 3 games they played was a totally different team compared to what they played the entire season. So if there's a continuation as well as improvement over what they did in the last 3 games, it's going to be more on the upper end of victories.
Not wrong. Not wrong. Texter said Dennis Leary can probably slang the ball. Yeah, I mean, probably. He's Dennis Leary. Guy's a legend. By the way, his stand-up comedy, if you can go back and find it, incredible.
Which was the reason why I said if you talk like him, I'd have to, yes.
Oh, NSFW as it gets, but hilarious.
He would make some seasoned sailors uncomfortable.
100%. All right, some other stuff we got to get to. Miles Sanders did say earlier this week that he will be 100% ready to go for week 1 when Carolina opens the season and divisional play on the road at the Atlanta Falcons in the Mercedes-Benz Dome in the ATL in, what is it, 2.5 weeks from now? 3 weeks from now, whatever it is. He said he'll be good to go. And that is good. Look, I like Chuba Hubbard a lot. But Chuba does not have the versatility that Miles Sanders has. He doesn't have the utility that Miles Sanders has. And at this point, anything that you can do to create a world in which Ike Ekwonu isn't getting bull rushed and beat by defensive ends is good. Even if Miles Sanders, Zoe, on every play, just runs over there. Just go over there, right? I may throw it to you. I may not. I may hand it to you. I may not. Just go over there and force that defensive end. Most defensive end play. I'm not an NFL defensive coordinator, but I've been around a minute. Most defensive end play, there's one of two things a defensive end is doing. Number one, it's a bull rush to the quarterback. That's an empty set reality. The rule that most defensive ends are going to follow is make contact, get your eyes to the closest back and hit him. Running back, quarterback, halfback, fullback, wingback, whatever. Get upfield, make contact, get your eyes on the closest back to you, and hit him. Now, in an open set, defensive ends have contain. What does contain mean? Keep the back, quarterback, running back, wingback, keep them from crossing your face. If there's a wingback, get upfield, make contact with that wingback, get him turned back to the inside so that if there is an outside sweep around that blocker, he's not a blocker. If the running back is coming at you, drive him back to the inside. Don't let him bounce to the outside. If the quarterback is by himself or is coming in your direction with a football, your job is to not let him cross your face. Get to him, put hands on him, and do not let him bounce outside of you because you're the last line of defense laterally, right? So if you take Miles Sanders and Ike Ekwonu ain't the guy, because Taylor Moton's holding it down on the right-hand side. He's the only offensive lineman that has been good and consistent in the preseason. If Ike can't get it together, which would be a massive disappointment, sophomore slumps are real, you really can't have your left tackle have one, right? So if Ike can't get it together, the best thing I think Frank Reich can do if Miles Sanders is available is just utilize him as a defensive end containment on the left-hand side, on the Ike side. Whether or not you give him the ball, whether you tell him bounce it outside, cut it back up inside, go out for a screen pass, whatever, run him off of Bryce's left side so that right side defensive ends have to engage with Ekwonu and then stay engaged to make sure that Miles Sanders doesn't bounce the play out wide of them. I think you're going to see Miles used a lot to go left. And it is going to be to cover up the, thus far, inadequacy of Ike Ekwonu. We'll talk tomorrow with Rashad Beard. He's in spy training today, so he can't make it, but he'll join us tomorrow on the show. And I'll run this by him because I'm curious, right? Like when Miles Sanders said, I am 100% good to go for week 1, my reaction, Lonzo, was, good thing. Good thing. Because Chuba's not a guy that scares you. He's not a guy that forces you to or forces right defensive ends.
What if he's been 100% for a while now and they just weren't going to play him in the preseason?
If he has been 100%, I'd probably trot him out even if it's just for a series this last preseason game. And I would probably do it just to give Bryce a feel of having a threat of a running back back there?
I would not, especially if I knew that my team was primarily going to be a running team and he's going to be the feature. Why waste him on the preseason?
Because I need Bryce to know what the feel of having a threat running back next to him is.
Yeah, he's got that in, practice.
No, he doesn't. Because you cannot, as much as you want to try, you cannot simulate a game in practice. You can simulate the look of a game. You can simulate running or defensive ends coming after you, but you can't simulate what it's like when they're coming after you and trying to Alvin Mack you. Can't do it. You can't simulate Lawrence Taylor, man. Yeah, they're either getting you at you or you're not. All right, let's run to a break. When we come back,
you can simulate Lawrence Taylor doing some of the stuff that he did off the field, but you probably don't want to do that.
Which brings me to my next point. Don't smoke crack. Let's take a break, come back, wrap up hour number 2. When we start hour number 3, we're going to be booked. John Harkes is in the first segment talking footy. Then Fight Club with the great one at 11:20. What the X is going on Twitter to wrap up the show. So if you want to get in, if you've got a thought, if you've got a take, if you've got an opinion, you got to get it in now. 844-326-3663. TheCarPros.com text line 71307. Started with Fan. We're back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Panthers O-line play like they don't give one vote about Bryce Young. So far. All right, guys, hitting the head. Be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Shut up, Kevin. Steven, it's called a cheat day, dude. That's what I would go with, I guess.
cars that I can shop from home. I thought we were friends. I put smiles on your face, but I'm not smiling.
Yeah, the thing is, if you use a cheat day on the first day, it means you don't get one for the rest of the week. So, I mean, or you postpone the beginning of the diet for another day. I wouldn't take that as a sign that you shouldn't be doing it, though. We all should be trying to get healthier. Doesn't mean we are. We should be, though. Unless you don't want to be. If you just want to be, I mean, you know, if you like, stay out of my life, I want to be fat, then, you know, go ahead. I've had those moments.
The Rob Brown Show continues, wrapping up hour number 1. Texter said, Rob, Calais Campbell is going to steal lunch money from Icky on September 10th. Dirty Birds 27, Panthers 10. Big ass that the Birds are going to put up 27 behind.
Wait, is it Ritter?
Yeah.
Who's it? That's
Yep.
Desmond?
Yep.
Desmond is going to put up 27 points?
No. Bijan Mustard Robinson might put up 27 though.
It's a great commercial.
It really is. If you haven't seen it, go find it. It's hysterical. Yeah. So I am gonna go with. I can see this game going either direction. 17-14, one of the two. I just don't know which one yet, to be honest with you. Like, I want to pick Carolina. I do. But if that offensive line is not better, then yes, the Atlanta defensive line is going to physically murder Bryce Young, right? The big risk you take with taking a smaller QB like BY is durability, right? Now, I think you look at guys like Russ, like Breeze, some of these other historically smaller quarterbacks. A lot of them don't really have those concerns. Russ has only missed a few games. Drew Brees only missed a few active games due to injury. But it is not so much the injuries, Lonzo, that cause you to miss games. That's the problem. It's the little injuries. It's the bruises. It's the bumps. It's the soreness. You ever tried to throw a football when your shoulder's jacked up? You can still do it, but it impacts you. It changes you. Even if it's just the pain, it pops into your brain. You're thinking about it. Even if subconsciously, you're thinking about it. So if that defensive line of Atlanta can indeed steal lunch money from the Panther offensive line, it'll be a long day for BY. It'll be a long day for Carolina Panther fans, without a doubt. The key to week 1 is the offensive line and Miles Sanders. Lonzo and I have disagreed. Lonzo thinks Carolina's going to run, what, 75% of the time?
Yeah, I think they're going to run a ton.
Yeah, I don't think you draft a quarterback and bring him in first overall and make him the starter before you even start camp to not let him throw the football. I think they're going to be a pretty balanced team unless the offensive line is just getting trounced, in which case I got to take the ball out of Bryce Young's hands until it gets fixed. And if you do that against Atlanta, honestly, if you do that against New Orleans, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Like a lot of trouble. Texas said, Joey B said, Carolina v. Atlanta is going to look a lot like that awful Georgia Tech Wake Forest ACC championship game from 2006. Falcons win a field goal kicking contest 9-6. It might be, honestly. I could see that being a final. I think you get a touchdown from Bijan Robinson. I would love to see a John Mingo touchdown just to show the rookies on display for both sides. But I could see both defensive lines having a statement here. The difference is Atlanta's offensive line looks real good so far. Carolina's don't. That's hour 2 in the books. When we come back, former U.S. men's national team legend and current manager of your Greenville Triumph, John Harkes, will join us here on the show. After that, Fight Club with the great Lonzo. We'll get you all caught up in the world of boxing, MMA, and professional wrestling. And then we wrap up the Thursday show with the little What the X is going on Twitter. The Rob Brown Show rolls on with John Harkes. Next, it's the Fan Upstate.
I had a sudden thought of just growing a really long beard and just dressing as a wizard for the rest of my career.
I support your decision, but only if you go with the pointy hat.
Well, yeah.
As far as plans and details, I don't have those yet. I know he's going to have been in contact with his representation. Obviously, he hit the second game. He's played with this in 18, so but with that being said, we'll take it day by day and see where it goes.
Tommy John surgery could be an option for Ohtani, who is going to be a free agent and was expected to get a contract in excess of $500 million. NFL preseason, Steelers and Falcons tonight in Atlanta, 7:30 Eastern Time.
All right, guys, we are going to pop off for a minute while we get Harkes in here and set up. We'll come back in 4 minutes and rock and roll. Don't go anywhere. Stick around. There we go. Coach, how we doing, big fella?
Doing well, Rob. How are you doing, buddy?
Good, man. Real good. Appreciate you coming by, boss.
Yeah, thanks for
Good
having
win
me
last
out,
night.
man.
Congratulations. Like to feel that one.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was a good win. People were talking in the street that you were getting big time, and might not invite me back this year. So it's good to be on.
People out there telling lies in public. I like it. I like it.
You doing all right?
I'm good, man. Real good. I'll tell you is Wednesday games make Thursday mornings tough, but if that's the struggle I got to go through, I'll go through it. You know what I mean?
Why? What's up?
Nothing. Lonzo makes me wake up early for work. That's all.
Wah.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I give him a stern talking to. He doesn't like that.
Yeah, exactly. There's worse things in the world, Rob. I think you're doing
Dramatically.
well.
I'm aware, Coach. I'm aware.
Yeah.
Painfully.
Absolutely.
We got about 3 minutes till we come back, and we'll jump right in.
Perfect. Excellent.
How's Tyler coming along, by the way? I'll ask you on the air, but how's Tyler doing?
Slow, dude.
Yeah.
Slow. Yeah. I mean, he was making some good progress, and then all of a sudden had a little bit of a setback. So we're just, monitoring that and making sure that we don't want to lose him for the rest of the season kind of thing with this hamstring. So I don't know. It's a lot going on.
Yeah. I saw him. I saw him last night. Didn't get to catch up with him, unfortunately, but
yeah, look, and we miss him. We need him on the field for sure. Hold on 2 seconds.
Yeah, take your time, Coach.
Hey, Dan. Yeah, I'm just about to jump on live here, so.
Mute his mic while he's on a phone call so you heathens don't hear his business.
He's back.
Excellent. 1 minute till showtime.
Sounds good. What's your schedule like today?
Today's relatively easy. We got the show till noon. Got to get ready for Burns play-by-play tomorrow. And then your boy's trying to get his fat behind back in the gym, Coach. So I'm at the point where I've got to schedule the gym time to force myself to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big challenge, man. Priorities, right? Small steps, baby steps.
That's it. I'm gonna come out and run around with the boys one day.
By the way, have you seen that Wake Forest Demon Deacons football training center?
No, I'm not.
My Lord. You have got to look. It's got to be the best in the country.
I'll tell you, some of these we were out there yesterday in the tailgate lot watching Furman practice. We started talking about some of the different facilities some of these schools are building. They're meccas, man. They're incredible.
I don't know where they're getting the finances, but man, alive. There it is. Be nice if somebody stepped in with us and gave us a stadium. Huh?
I think the Tribe need an indoor training facility.
Yeah, let's get the stadium as well. That would be
all right.
nice.
Here we go. The third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show starts right now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the fan upstate over there, the sheriff of sports talk himself, the great Malonzo. I am Rob Brown. And joining us now on the stream, which you can watch at facebook.com/thefanupstate, twitter.com/thefanupstate by searching and subscribing to the Fan Upstate on YouTube or the Rob Brown Show on Twitch. He is a former member of the United States men's national team. He is the current manager of your Greenville Triumph. He is John Harkes joining us on the show. What's up, Coach?
Hey, what's going on, Rob? Good to be back on with you, man.
Yeah, man.
I'm excited. I'm excited to be part of this group.
I love it. I love it. John Harkes here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. First and foremost, Coach, good win last night for the fellas in a midweek game.
Yeah, very good win. Look, I mean, coming from northern Colorado, long trip, altitude, 3 games in 8 days. You know, we've got to prepare and make sure that we rotate and manage these guys and the physicality of the game last night. That was a very high-spirited team. You know, Chattanooga right now have gone through a lot of adversity, and our guys stepped up and they competed really well. Actually, a lot of us were joking around because one of our set plays actually worked, you know, that we've been working on the training field for a long period of time. And, you know, for our second goal, which was brilliant. But happy to get the 3 points. Midweek games are always tough. You know, you're looking to rotate certain players here and there, Rob, and making sure that our job as a coach is to protect the player, but put the best players on the field to work as a team and get that chemistry. So you're always looking at that balance. So, yeah, great point on the road at Colorado on the weekend. You know, coming back home to get the 3 points last night was huge, and now we prepare for Omaha on Saturday.
I wanted to ask you how you handle that as a manager, because it's not just the 3 games in 8 days, but it's the change in environment from game to game. You go from, 4,800 feet above sea level in Colorado. And I don't care what anybody says, if you've never tried to compete athletically in that high altitude, it takes a lot out of you. Yeah. You got a quick turnaround to come back where it was, I don't care what anybody says, hot as hell last night. I was sweating in regular gear. And then you turn around and you got a Saturday match. So what kind of challenges does that present to you as a manager for not just 3 and 8, but a weird 3 and 8 environmentally?
Yeah, it's a huge question, and it's a great question because there is so much to manage, and there's so many things to consider. You know, number one is fatigue. You know, we talk about fatigue and players that always tell you, "I'm good to go, coach. I'm good to go, coach. You know, I want to play." And the old cliche, "Give me another 90, I'm fine." But our job is to protect them and to make sure that they're in the right place, frame of mind, headspace, but also physically. And a lot of these guys are putting it in there. You know, look, we had 2 guys that picked up some major injuries on the weekend that still competed last night. And that was Evan Lee and Jamie Smith. And Jamie broke his nose in Colorado with an elbow. Evan Lee, you know, gashed his lip here and it was bleeding and one of his teeth were almost falling out. So they both competed last night again. So tough guys. They have that physicality, they have the resilience, which is huge, Rob. And you know as well as I do, we need that, you know, from game to game. But you know, we're looking at the teamwork, you know, we're looking at their habits and we pick up on some guys last night. You could see there was fatigue with some of those guys and, you know, you got to make these changes. So I'm rotating players and making big decisions at halftime, you know, getting subs in there and We have it's nice to have the depth where you could throw a player on the field and they're going to compete. They understand their positional responsibilities and how they relate to the whole team. So from that perspective, the depth is great. The only guy missing right now is Tyler Pollock. So we got to get Tyler back fit. As you know, he's a captain. He's a leader. He's a good guy in the dressing room. He drives, what this club is all about. And he's the only one right now that's missing. Everybody else we're trying to manage along. And, even a guy like Lucas Coutinho, who's 5'9", the strength and the resilience to hold off a 6'4" center back and then have the finesse to put that ball in the upper 90 was just absolutely brilliant. So, I mean, we're looking at all these players, how much they're exhausted, guys coming back from injuries like Leo being sick, and then Devin Boyce was on the field last night. So it's about that rotation, that management. You got to make those hard decisions with players, and they're not always going to like it, but that's our job.
John Harkes, head coach of your Greenville Triumph here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upset. I've always been kind of curious about that, Coach, because you've got a healthy combination at this level, at the USL League One level, of guys who are very earlier in their career and they're kind of building up and working up. You've got obviously some guys that are later in the career and they just want to keep playing a little bit. Where is the balance for you when you're having conversations with these players of, we need you to sit, we're going to need more of you, especially for guys that maybe know this is towards the twilight or the very beginning where they're trying to build up that legacy? As a manager, kind of how do you handle those conversations with guys to try to keep everybody on the squad happy?
Well, I mean, early on when you're establishing your culture within a club and you're building it from the ground up back in 2019, that's hard because you got to work every single day at establishing your culture. You got to make sure that the expectations, what it means, how things are done here when you walk through that door. We've kept that clear communication for them. We're in year 5, and the players understand where they're at. It's always open and honest. We talk about things directly. We're blunt. We get to the bottom of it right away. There's no skirting around the issues. And the players like that. They want to have a plan in place. And if you're telling them, I'm doing this because of this, then they get it right away. It's when you don't communicate to them that becomes the hard, big challenge there. And we talk about these habits every single day that lend themselves to our teamwork, to our structure. We have built this club on some of these guys as pillars. When you talk about a guy like Tyler Pollock, Aaron Walker, Evan Lee, Fricky, there's been some players that have left, Dallas J, quality players that have gone on and they have different careers. But it's a blend of having that balance of veteran players that understand how to establish the culture in the dressing room and also on the field every day, what it means to show up for work, to smile, look each other in the eye and trust that. And also have the young players that are coming through, like a Liam McKinnon that's coming out of Villanova that scores the record 4 goals in one game, against Chattanooga months ago. But like it's blending that. And that's what makes a good roster. You got to have it's not just the finances and making sure they fit in the budget. It's character. How do we get these players in that have the character, number one, to carry out what we expect them to carry out? And they've done extremely well. And look, we've got 9 games left right now. And I'm looking forward to the end of the season. But at the same time, it's game by game. We know that Omaha's a massive, massive team to fight against. They've got 5 wins in a row. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard.
John Harkes, manager of the Greenville Triumph, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. I want to talk to you about a couple of individual players, and I want to start in the midfield. Man, it has been such a joy to see Noah Pilato get out there and run around a little bit. He's dealt with injuries off and on throughout the career. That dude is he's a pit bull, man. He's a bulldog. Like he never stops moving. He never stops running. How big has it been to be able to get Noah back in the lineup and get him some QT after coming off those injuries the last couple of years?
It's been great, Rob. And I think as well. I mean, you interact with so many different athletes in other sports, and the mentality of that headspace of like when you go into injuries, it's difficult, man. You can go down a rabbit hole or you can kind of rise up to the challenge and the adversity. He's definitely, been a guy that stood up and said, I'll accept it. Let's go. And we believed in him. We keep talking about year to year when we go through contracts and stuff. And I'm like, this guy is good enough to give him, a pass. He hasn't played football for 2 years. And then all of a sudden we're playing him every single game, in the midfield with Aaron Walker, guys like Tevin Shaw, Lucas Coutinho, and so on. And, He's been brilliant. I mean, he's just savvy. He gets it. He's the guy that's like trying to direct traffic going forward, but at the same time, he's chasing back. There was one play late in the game at Charlotte where he was probably about 10 yards from the opposition's 18, and he ends up in the 86th minute chasing back and defending a blocked shot in our own 18, 12 seconds later. And so he's, his heart's always in the game. It's in the right space, and it's good to see him. He has a great presence on the field. So, we've also got to be careful with him, Rob, because we now, as much as he's built up resilience now in training and in game situations, we still got to protect him a little bit and know when to rest him.
Let's talk about your guys up front, guys like McKinnon. You mentioned Jacob Labovitz, Venton Evans. We have seen the goals coming in spurts for these different individuals as far as generating more offense up front, utilizing your forwards, your attackers. What has kind of been the methodology? Has it been more we're trying to create individual moments for guys? Are we looking for creativity as a front line? Has there been a shift in the strategy for the guys up front as this season's progressed?
Well, I mean, look, the methodology is like high risk, in that final third. We want to let the imagination run. We want to be creative, but there's also responsibility with that freedom. And then that means you got to be able to link up and hold the ball and bring the other players in the team into the game in that final third. And, Leo Castro was the biggest signing we had this year, and, 10 goals so far. His experience has been brilliant, but not just scoring goals and finishing chances, from I think 6 or 7 of them from Gavilanes, which is his crosses, which have been really accurate this year. But it's also about the importance of him being able to take responsibility to hold the ball under pressure and bring our team up to that final third. And so he's done a really good job there. Labovitz gets a goal last night. We're happy to see him getting back on the score sheet. Sometimes when you're a striker and you're not scoring goals or you're not getting a lot of playing time, your rhythm's off, your timing's off. And, we just don't want you to overanalyze and think. So it's good to see him scoring. And then we're getting goals from like Noah Pilato, Aaron Walker, guys like that, even from the back line. We want to see them on set pieces, guys attacking set pieces, Evan Lees and Frickies and Jamie. Last night, his header off the bar and, leads to Jacob Labovitz anticipating that really well in the 18. So creativity is great. Lyon McKinnon, he has 7 goals now, I think, which is fantastic. And, we want to get more. If you can get a team that has goals from different areas on the field and different personnel, then you're not heavily relying on 1 or 2 players all the time. Because if they get injured, you're in trouble in your style of play.
We are talking to John Harkes, current manager of your Greenville Triumph, here on the Rob Brown Show with the Fan Upstate. There is one more specific player I wanted to ask you about, and we got to see a lot of him up close and personal last night. Playing the right back was Jamie Smith, right there in front of the supporters section. This dude, first off, Coach, looks like a rugby player. I mean, he is just absolutely thick with 2 C's on the end.
Yeah.
Then he played like it too. I mean, he was going up for every ball, a lot of physicality, a lot of muscle around there. Ends up, honestly, should have been Jamie Smith's goal. I was glad Labo was there to clean it up. But, I mean, everything right. This dude really impressed me last night, and he's somebody I think a lot of the Triumph supporters are really kind of growing fond of, Coach.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's true motivation when you see a player like that who has gone through the whole season with injuries, hasn't been able to step on the field, and now he's just seizing his opportunity. We talk about carpe diem, make every moment count. And, it's not people with a purpose in the game. You could tell they drive the numbers and they achieve the goals. And he's a guy with a purpose right now, and he's fighting. He wants to continuously show that, he can do the job. And like you said, he is physical. He's aggressive. He wins 90% of the headers defensively, but then he's contributing on the attack as well and set pieces going forward. His distribution out of the back has been very good. He's savvy. He reads the game well. He comes from a really good stock. I mean, his father was a manager in the Premier League, in the English Premier League, Dean Smith. So, he gets the game. It's part of their football culture in the family. So, look, everyone's got to earn their place. And, your performances in training on a consistent basis leads you to being selected for the games. And he's done extremely well coming off of his injury. Our athletic trainer, Rachel, has done a great job dedicating a lot of time to him and getting him strong and fit again, as well as Ryan Mackey, our strength and conditioning coach, who owns KPF, as you know. And he's done so well to get these guys fit and strong. But Jamie's one of those guys that stepped on the field, hasn't missed a beat. He's come in and he's just like, let me see the weaknesses in our team, and I'll fill those holes and gaps. And he's done so well last night. Really great game.
I got to tell you, when the match
and he
was
broke
over,
his nose out in Colorado, so he's not shy. He had we keep calling him, fan of the opera. He had the mask on last night, and after about 6 minutes, he rips it off and throws it to the sideline, because we all know athletes and former athletes, they don't want that restriction. And then 5 minutes later, he gets hit in the cheekbone and bruised his eye, and his nose is swollen again and bleeding. I'm like, here we go.
He came over to the sideline in front of the supporter section after the match, and I kind of joking, I was like, hey, Jamie, like, that was your goal, right? And he goes, Labo was a little down on himself. I put it there so he could clean it up and feel better. It was such a moment. We're talking to John Harkes here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. So you got one in the bag last night, a good 2-1 win over Colorado. You turn it around, and it's a rivalry game against Union Omaha. The battle for the belt is back on, Coach. I know that probably means more to us than it does to you guys, but 3 games in 8 days, first one up in Colorado, next 2 here at Furman. What's the mentality of you and your team going into the 7 o'clock kick on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, it's just making sure we manage the physical and the mental fatigue, from a lot of these guys. Less is more sometimes, Rob. That makes a lot of sense for these guys. So even today, we had some guys coming in for treatment and doing things, and then we've let a lot of guys just rest and sleep in and stay home and get into the pool, recovery, things like that. And then we'll look at rotation, So last night, as I get back to my apartment, I rewatched the game right away, and I take notes down. And it's like a good movie. You watch it again and you see things that you never saw before. So it's like consistently, I'm watching it again this morning. And, we have a lot of good performances, but we also have a lot of guys that were fighting through fatigue. You can see it. And so we've got to really get together as a staff, reassess where we're at, and then get the right guys on the field. But we know that we will rise up. And on Saturday, with that crowd behind us, at Paladin Stadium, they've been pushing us on to victory a lot, and we're going to need to support Saturday night for sure against Omaha, a team that's won 5 in a row. They're coming in they want to disrupt our play. They want to knock us off the pedestal as we climb up that ladder in the playoffs right now, and moved up a notch last night to 5th, and we want to continue doing that.
John Harkes, manager of the Triumph. Last one, unrelated. We sat after the match last night, Coach, in the parking lot at Paladin Stadium to watch Lionel Messi do it again. Another miracle goal for Miami. They end up beating Cincinnati in PKs. Wildly dramatic. As somebody who is, I think, trying to continue, as I am, to grow this game and make it more popular, especially amongst the young people here in the country, how big is what Lionel Messi's doing in Miami right now culturally for soccer in this country? Is it as important as I feel like it is for us to grow the popularity of the sport by having one of the world's best doing it in this country?
It's immeasurable. I mean, the platform that he's created for the interest of the game in this country is absolutely out of this world. He's the best player in the world. He's got to be easily one of the best athletes in the world at any sport. The way that he could just turn it on, the accuracy last night for his assists, his leadership. And last night, and winning the Leagues Cup with a team that has been at the bottom of the league, has no style of play, have fired their coach, and they need a rebrand. They need everything. And Lionel Messi comes in, and you're thinking to yourself, how could one player change a team? Well, he has with Busquets and Jordi Alba. Of course, they've helped, and they're fantastic world-class players. But Messi has just taken this team, put him on his back, and he's carried them across the line. And, it's just time and time again. We have to really step back and just say, how lucky are we that we can see a player like this, an athlete, compete like this, and just turn it on in a split second. And this is a player who's not in his 20s. So it's a guy that's like in his 30s and mid-30s, and he's still competing and fighting and his hunger. What I love about him is that he is so humble in the game. He is a team player. And that's what differentiates him between him and Cristiano Ronaldo and any other player in the world. And I was a ball boy for Pele, the great Pele back in the day for the Cosmos. And he has always been my number one. But looking at Messi, guys, he's just transcending the game beyond belief. It's amazing right now what he's done for the game and what he's done for Inter Miami. I mean, their fan base, their social media following, the ticket sales, the game itself in this country has been amazing. So we're continuing to grow it, Rob, just like you said you were and I am every single day. And that's why I'm here with Greenville Triumph. We're growing the game at every level.
John Harkes is the manager of the Greenville Triumph. They will be playing against Union Omaha this Saturday, Paladin Stadium, 7 p.m. Coach, you're the best, man. Good to have you back, buddy.
Great to be on with you, Rob. Anytime, man. You know, I love your show. I love you guys, and I'm always here for you. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolute legend. Thank you, Coach. John Harkes here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. When we come back here in just mere moments, it's Thursday. It's time for Fight Club. We talk some MMA, boxing, and pro wrestling with the great one next on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate you, big dog.
Thanks, guys. Good to see
Saturday,
you
buddy.
always, man. Let me know when you need it, and keep doing what you're doing, man. It's awesome. You guys are great.
Absolutely.
Love you guys.
Absolutely. See you, bud.
Hey, Dave, take a chance. Look at that Wake Forest.
Going to.
It's crazy. It's on
Going
social
to.
media right now, the whole thing.
Going forth. Thank you, Coach.
QC.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you about our friend. All right, we back.
And that's why we focus on helping homeowners prepare for what's next. Our local mortgage bankers have the experience you need and exceptional personal service you'll appreciate. Home Trust Bank is ready to help make a house your home. When it's time to buy, visit your local Home Trust branch or go to htb.com/mortgage.
Sponsored by Compassion.
Drought, war, and rising food prices.
It was feeling kind of better till that, whatever that was.
Whatever that was.
Yeah, whatever that was. Wasn't moving at the time, so I know it wasn't that I moved wrong.
There one again.
Yes. Sorry. I will live.
Like, I believe that. Doesn't mean it doesn't suck.
Yeah, well. All right, welcome into the Fight Club, where we just do what you do in the Fight Club.
We fight.
Yeah, you smack people around.
One.
Yeah, you do what you do. We do need to talk about the passing of Terry Funk, but I got to admit that I didn't really watch a whole lot of Terry Funk. I saw him near the end when he was in, I guess, the then WWF for a while, and I've heard so much about him and that he is the hardcore legend. But admittedly, he's not someone that I followed a whole lot.
Here's what was
I know how important he is to wrestling, but
I think what was interesting about Terry Funk, aside from the fact that, yes, he was an absolute hardcore legend, I think Funk has two things that will be his legacy. Number one, Terry Funk. All right, I'm a big Forrest Gump guy, and you know the backstory of Forrest Gump is that he was in all these places in history, right? Like everything that happened in Forrest Gump's history, he just randomly happened to be there. That was kind of Terry Funk with wrestling. He always seemed to be where interesting things were happening, and if somebody is in every place something interesting happens, you got to think there's obviously something interesting about this guy, and I think Funk was that. I think the second thing is the legacy, because not only did he kind of make hardcore wrestling something that became more mainstream, and I think Terry Funk was a big part of that, but if you go listen to interviews of wrestlers really over the last like 30 years, the list of people who credit Funk as one of the reasons that they A, love the game, and B, are as good at it as they are, he has such a profound impact on this industry that I think you couldn't help but notice yesterday that everybody had a Terry Funk story, from Ric Flair to Kevin Owens and back. Everybody had something to say about the guy, and to me, that just means he had a profound impact on the game.
All right, one more thing before we get to what's happening Sunday. There's been rumors going around that was Edge's last match in Toronto, which it was under his current contract. A lot of people thinking he's going to AEW. He's just confirmed a little bit earlier that he has a contract extension sitting in his inbox. He just hasn't decided what he's going to do yet. And that he's not on bad terms, even though it's been reported that he was on bad terms and all that kind of stuff with WWE. So all those people believing that he's going to show up Sunday, probably not going to.
Don't know, because
I'm not going to say 100% sure he's not, because you just don't know.
You don't know. And if that part is true, and I think there's a lot of this, and I want to say that these are nothing more than rumors, but there is a rumor that Edge would be interested in doing a reunion with Christian, but of course that would require him to jump companies. I will say, especially with RVD showing up, I don't think there's any such thing as a lifer anymore. And that's not to say AEW is on par with WWE. They're obviously not, but because of the freedom that they allow the wrestlers to be have to be involved in, if Edge wanted to do a reunion with Christian, if Edge was going to do like a genuine, this is my retirement match, as cool as it is that he did with Sheamus, Christian's the guy he would likely want to do it with. So imagine Edge coming in to do a one-run face campaign against Ulta heel Christian as his farewell. I think that would be fabulous.
It would, but that would shock me. It absolutely would. All right, we have 11 matches to get through. And this will be for Nerf Wall eventually, because it's 11 matches and a lot of things can go a lot of different ways. With the AEW has something going on Sunday in Wembley. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's reported to be the biggest the most amount of fans and all that kind. Who cares? It's going to be really big. And I don't care if WWE has a record, if AEW has a record. I'm going to buy this, which I don't normally do, for 2 reasons. And they are Adam Cole, baby, and MJF, because I really want to see where this goes, because this is going to be a story that starts early on, and it's going to start the show and it's going to end the show. And so what happened, that to me is that's kind of cool. So starting the show off, before we get to them, they just added a match, Jack Perry versus Hook for the FTW belt. Jack Perry he won the belt, said it means absolutely nothing to him, but it means a lot to Hook. It means a lot to Taz. I'm going to go first here, and I'm going to say Taz gets involved for the first time since he's been in AEW. I don't recall him actually being involved. I know he's a manager. I don't think he really got involved. And if he did, it's been so long that I've forgotten. I think he gets involved in this match, and I think Hook wins the belt back.
I would not be surprised by that. I do think that Hook is going to win the belt back, but as I pointed out the other day, it depends on how meta wrestling wants to go. Because I love the concept of Jack winning, retaining, destroying the belt, saying it's done, and then Taz just coming out the next week and going, "No, it's not. It's still a thing because it's mine and I said so." That being said, I'm going to go Hook.
All right. So last night on Dynamite, there was a face-off between Aussie Open and Better Than You, Baby. And it went back and forth. And in the end, MJF put his hand in his pocket and he pulled out a ring. And he looked at Adam Cole like he was going to hit him in the back of the head, but he didn't. Instead, he put it back in his pocket. He went over and he hugged him. This is going to be interesting, and we'll talk about that match later. But first, Aussie Open versus Adam Cole and MJF. Who you got?
I am going to go Adam Cole and MJF, right? And I'll tell you, it's not necessarily because I think that's the right play. I think it just makes the evening's main event more interesting, right? Because if they both walk down the ramp holding tag team belts that they won together as they're prepared to fight for the BBB, especially considering what I think is going to happen, and then you still can force them because Khan can go, nope, I don't care what happened in the main event. You are still a tag team champion. You've got to defend those belts. It just makes it that much more compelling. So I'll go with Better Than You, baby.
All right. I hope you're right, but I'm not going to go that way. I'm going to go with division right away. It's going to look like it's going to, that Max is going to return to his old ways, and then I'll continue this when we're done.
Yeah, but you're missing something.
You're
missing something. Kangaroo kick.
Yes, I know. We are going to see kangaroo kick. We are going to see double clothesline. But Aussie Open retains. All right. The next match is the Best Friends and Eddie Kingston and Orange Cassidy. I don't know why they're putting them separate now. I thought they were all best friends, but apparently they have to separate them now, along with Penta El Zero Miedo. I can't say it. Miedo. Okay. All right. I got it that time. Versus the Blackpool Combat Club, Santana, Ortiz, who both got backlash and on the same team, even though they seemed all reports is that they absolutely hate each other. So Blackpool Combat Club, Santana and Ortiz versus Best Friends and Eddie Kingston. Who you got?
I think Eddie right now, who is a very average wrestler, just so we're clear, but he is white hot over with the crowd because he's a real character and we connect with them.
Quit saying this we stuff. I don't connect to this guy at all.
The majority of fans. I'm going to go with the Best Friends in OC. I think Orange Cassidy and Eddie Kingston alone are the reason they've got to go over.
All right.
This is my least confident pick, by the way.
All right. I'm going with the Blackpool Combat Club. I'm not saying that there won't be some division between Santana and Ortiz, but I'm going with the BCC because John Moxley still, although he's starting to fall on my list because of the blood, is still my favorite wrestler. All right. Adam Page, Kenny Omega, and Kota Ibushi versus Jay White, Juice Robinson, and Takeshita. I am going to go first here, and I'm going to go with the guy who I believe is my cousin, and that would be Juice Robinson.
Juice.
I'm going with Juice, and I think they're going to – I hate that the Guns aren't in this match too. But yeah, I'm going to go with them over Hangman, Omega, and Ibushi. Who you got?
Do you see them going to Wembley and not having the Elite win? I don't. I'm going to go with the Elite here. I think this is one of those times where all of the jokes about the EPs being the EVPs come into play.
All right. And if you are keeping track, one of us is going to the wall unless people on the Upstate Pulse really mess it up, which they could. All right. The next match is Chris Jericho versus Will Ospreay. This one I'm worried about because Ospreay, and I know how this is going to sound, Ospreay is so much better than Jericho at this point in his career.
For the record, Ospreay is better than a lot of people.
Yeah, he really is. So I think Ospreay has to slow it down. And in this case, Jericho is the face in this match. How in the world does Jericho win this? I think the best part about it is Fozzie's actually going to play live in Wembley to that crowd. And he loves the fact that he's going to get to play in front of 80,000 people. His theme song. Can you let him play his theme song and come out and lose? I think you can. I'm going to go with Ospreay.
I actually am going to go with Ospreay too. I think that Ospreay is eventually going to end up moving full time.
That dude is so good
to All Elite Wrestling because of how good he is. A, and also B, Don Callis.
Yes, he's going to factor in somehow. All right, the next match, friend of the show, Darby Allin. Nope. And Sting.
What he means by nope is that's what Darby said on the show. He's not a friend of the show. Because Darby was one of my favorite interviews. He was just chill and cared zero about answering questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So Darby Allin and Sting, who really needs to stop, are in a coffin match against Swerve Strickland and Christian Cage. This is what was added last night. And Christian Cage came out,
feels like mashed together.
Came out and talked about somebody else whose dad is dead, because that's what Christian Cage does now.
And does it well.
Yeah, well, he's pretty evil. All right, who you got? Christian Cage and Swerve, or Darby and Sting?
I don't see them sending Sting to London to eat an L either. I'll go Sting and Darby.
Yeah, I agree. I just please don't get hurt, Sting. Come on, dude. Come on, man. You're in your 60s. You should not be doing that. All right, the next match is Brody King, Buddy Matthews, and Malachi Black versus the Acclaimed and the returning last night, Billy Gunn. So Billy Gunn came back last night as another persona of Billy Gunn, whose name I will not mention, but it starts with a bad and ends with a booty.
The badass is back.
That's him. Yes. So that is going down for the World Trios Championship. Who you got?
I don't like this one either. I can't like
they got to wait till it's like nighttime to do this, to make it work. So it's got to be later on in, because you can't have them come out without it being dark.
I kind of feel like we get I almost kind of feel like there's a badass heel turn coming in this, but I mean, I am gonna ride Lonzo with my tag team partner.
You going with Darby Allin?
I'm going.
I'm sorry, I got lost there. You are going with Billy Gunn.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, all right.
Because I am a New Age outlaw.
That's right. That's that threw me.
I am a New Age outlaw.
Because he actually wrestled with them. He did. He absolutely did that.
Yep.
I am also going with them because they've tried to win those titles. They shouldn't though, but they're not doing enough with Malachi and the House of Black. So I'm also going to go.
They're not doing enough.
They
just beat the hell out of the Acclaim last week. It was amazing.
They need to do more.
I love House of Black.
Those guys,
I think they're great.
The intro, everything about
Plus, Buddy's just got to envision whoever he's fighting is Dom.
Yes.
And it's all over.
All right. Hikaru Shida, who's the current champion, versus Britt Baker versus Saraya versus Toni Storm for the AEW Women's World Championship. This was dumb. They did a tournament, but they put Shida in it, and she would have to win her match in order to compete for her championship. It was very confusing, and I don't know why they did that. But I really like Toni Storm's new direction with her character. I really enjoy that. The whole Marilyn Monroe thing, and how at the end of every interview, she throws her shoe at whoever's interviewing her. I think that's funny. But I'm going to go with Britt Baker winning. And here's why. Friend of the show, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, because a certain former champion has been Jamie Hayter's been throwing a bunch of pictures and stuff like she's getting healthier. It wouldn't shock me if she doesn't come out and help Britt Baker win.
My understanding is that Jamie Hayter is not anywhere close to ready to go yet, but you can't have the biggest British name in women's wrestling not be on the show somehow. I suspect Hayter gets involved as a reason that Toni Storm ends up not winning this tournament. And then when she comes back healthy, that's your first program. But I don't know. I think you just got to have her on the program.
So who you got winning? Sheeta, Baker, Saraya, or Toni Storm?
You got to keep the belt on Sheeta right now.
Okay.
She's too hot. She's too over. And considering all the criticism, and by the way, rightfully so, that AEW's had for poor booking of the women's division as of late. Like, Tony fell into where Vince used to be, which is you have one of two characters for your women, either crazy lady who cuts her hair and spray paints people, or, oh my God, my boyfriend. And they kind of started falling into that trap. Hikaru Shida is neither one of them. So I think they ride with her for a little while.
She is my favorite in AEW as far as women's wrestlers go.
I don't have any issue with that.
And I don't think she's got, since the last time she won the championship, she hasn't got the push that she needed. All right. FTR versus Young Bucks. Apparently someone can travel with a visa. Apparently Cash Wheeler can go overseas. At least so far it looks like it.
So my understanding is the only way that his visa / passport will be pulled and he could not travel to the UK is if he is convicted of an offense. Right now, he is just charged with the offense. So as long as this event happens, and from my understanding, obviously, because it's 3 days from now, it will, as long as this event happens before he goes to trial, whether it's judge or jury, as long as he is not convicted of a firearm offense, then he would be able to compete in London. So I don't see any reason. Now, it makes sense that they have been pulled off the show the last 2 weeks, that they have just been promos and vignettes about him and not having FTR show up, because you kind of want that aspect of this to cool off a little bit before you start the match. But yeah, no conviction yet means he can go, is my understanding.
All right, who wins?
FTR.
All right, I am going to go with the Young Bucks, and I don't think that was what it was going to be originally.
I think now it will be?
I think it
Just
will
to
be
put them
now
off the TV for a little while?
because you don't know what's coming.
Oh, you know what? Oh,
I'll let you change it if you want. I mean, just real world, it makes more sense to put it on the Young Bucks and then put it on somebody else after.
I didn't even consider that. I'm going to change.
Okay.
I'm going to change. I agree.
If it wasn't for this, I probably would have went FTR reluctantly, but
I think that's fair.
But because of that, I think that's how it's going to go. 2 more matches left. One of them for a fake championship, one of them for a real one. Let's go with the fake championship first. CM Punk, the real world champion, going up against Samoa Joe for that championship. Man, I know who I want to win. I really do. But it seems like all the rumors and dirt sheet stuff, there's got to be some truth to it, I would think. Or there's just a bunch of people who hate CM Punk. I don't hate him, but I really dislike him greatly. I got to believe some of that stuff is true. And if it is true, they're not going to let Samoa Joe win. But you know what? I refuse. Even if it meant me going on the wall, I'm not picking CM Punk. I'm going with Samoa Joe.
You will be going to the wall. I'm going Punk here. I don't like it. For the record, Samoa Joe is in my probably top 5 favorite wrestlers active at all, period.
Especially
right now.
The move that is just moving out of the way.
It's my favorite thing. Meta moves are the best. But yeah, no, Punk's going to win this.
All right. Finally, MJF versus Adam Cole. All right. They've been setting this up this whole time with Roddy and his group. They were on there again last night. He's going to find out who MJF really is. Adam Cole is turning. He is turning. He's going to join the group with Roddy. Wouldn't even shock me if he doesn't bring somebody else back who's been injured, who was formerly with him in the Undisputed Era. He's turning. And this cements MJF as straight up face when Adam Cole, or does it? Because then he finds out he really can't have friends, that everything he thought about. Either way, Adam Cole wins this championship and screws over MJF.
So there's two ways this goes. The whole thing with having MJF personally walk the contract out to the ring for the match is either MJF wrote some sort of stipulation into the contract to screw over Adam Cole, or the twist, the turn, the swerve is going to be that Adam Cole switched out the contract on MJF and MJF didn't know it. One of them is going to screw one of the others, and the question is which one. You went Cole. I'm going to go MJF because while he's a scumbag, he's our scumbag.
All right. Kevin just hit me up on Facebook and wants to know, will Sting be Joker Sting? Absolutely, he will be.
Hope so.
Which scares me even more.
It's showtime. It's not showtime anymore. It's time to do what the X is going on Twitter. And then we're out of here for the Thursday. He's Lonzo. I'm Rob. It's the Rob Brown Show. It's the Fan Upstate.
So my occasional stutter during the segment was more of the same.
Yeah.
And it's just,
figured.
it's like, maybe it's that thing where something's getting better because of medication, but then then the other parts that are feeling better, it all goes down to whatever the main thing is. Maybe what it is. I just would like that to stop because it's not good.
PJ just said, you just made the list.
Oh, I want Jericho to win.
Jericho can get a clipboard over. He's the GOAT.
He is.
I'm Taylor Bishotti with NFL Network now on the Westwood One Radio Network. The Colts may be allowing Jonathan Taylor to seek a trade, but that's not the case in Vegas. The Raiders have shown no interest in trading Josh Jacobs. That, according to NFL Network insider Tom Pelissero. The NFL's leading rusher has yet to sign his $10.1 million franchise tender. The 49ers quarterback room situation appears to be settled. Sam Darnold has been named the team's number 2 quarterback behind Brock Purdy. That, according to NFL Network insiders Ian Rappaport and Tom Pelissero. They also say that puts the future of Trey Lance in question. The former number 3 overall pick is owed $9.3 million this year and has started 4 career games. Ian says they're exploring options with him. And Chris Jones' contract holdout continues to drag.
So I will not be doing yard work Sunday because that thing comes on at 1 p.m. Eastern, but actually it comes on probably at noon because of the pre-show.
Because we are realtors, bound by a code of ethics, driven to serve our communities. We're here for it all, here for you. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
Why would they do that, Steven?
I have not been told that. The game is still scheduled for 7:30.
Yeah, that would be something that we probably would need to know.
Yeah.
Did they give a reason why, though, Steven? Because, I mean, high heat? Okay. Well, yeah, okay. Lonzo's going to refrain from being an old man right now.
I will find out, Jane or Steven. I'll let you know tomorrow. I have not heard that yet, but I'll let you know tomorrow. Actually, I'll put it on social media today if I find out.
How much more is the temperature? Well, I guess it's dark by then, but we're trying to turn football into some other sport. It's football.
is a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? Just go to 4hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, and the process is 100% online. To start your free online visit, go to 4hims.com/joy. That's FORHINS.com/JOY.
My frequent heartburn had me taking an acid.
There you go, Steven.
All day long. But with Prilosec OTC, just one pill a day blocks my heartburn for a full.
For the record, it's not the player's decision.
It's not.
I always love people beating up the young people for the decisions. Do you know who makes this? The boomers make that call, not the kids.
It's about gate sales,
Yes.
and they think less people will come out because it's too hot. Like when they move it because of rain.
Right.
So it's all about the money. Time to tell you what the X is going on. Rob's going to tell you what the X is going on. Let's face it, this whole week I have no idea what's going on, X or otherwise. All right, the first thing that's Xing
Yo
is Shannon Sharp.
So I've seen Shannon a couple of different places. He was on the Kelsey Bros pod this week, and they asked him, they said, there's the old debate that goes on. Could an average person get 1 yard of rushing in the National Football League? If you just took a random dude.
Yeah, they've asked that question a bunch on their podcast.
So they asked Shannon, except for they twisted it, and they said, for all the blabbermouth that he does, could Skip Bayless get 1 yard? And Shannon went, oh, hell no. And they started laughing. And he goes, number one, I think the guys on defense would put in extra murdery to try to take him out. And number two, relatively sure the offensive line would not block for him at all. They'd just be like, wah, go ahead. And it was hilarious. And the Kelsey brothers both lost their mind laughing, which was great, by the way. I got to tell you, I have jumped on these dudes' pod. It's freaking funny.
Yeah, it's even better during the season because they come out and recap each other's game, or each of them recap the game they just did. They will talk about things that went well, things that went wrong, on top of all the other stuff that they're doing.
It's hilarious because they're just bros, man.
They are, literally and figuratively. Shannon Sharp is trending because his first time on First Take will be September 4th.
Yay.
Yeah, there we go. That's the kind of reaction I expected. All right, the next thing that's Xing is Halle Berry.
Halle Berry, by the way, still got it. Absolutely still got it. Halle Berry, I have no idea why she's trending now.
She is trending because she is now free. Her divorce is final. So for everybody out there who still thinks,
some of y'all fellas better get back in the gym real quick.
Everyone who thinks I got a shot.
Some of y'all better get back on that treadmill real quick.
She's a little bit older than you think, but if you got game, you got game. Not talking about her. Obviously she does, but I mean you, if you think that you got a shot. There we go. That's the kind of mentality you got to have. All right. And the final thing is National Waffle Day.
You a waffle guy?
I have no preference. I mean, I like waffles and pancakes.
Okay.
I don't go, I have to choose it. I mean, come on, they're both good.
Mitch Hedberg once said that waffles are just pancakes with syrup traps. And I think it's a brilliant way to look at them.
Yeah.
Because they're I don't know, man. I don't want to say apples and oranges. They're obviously very similar, but I will tell you, if I hit the Wahoo, I'm going waffle every time.
You know what? I wrote a song about it.
The Serenade.
The Waffle House Serenade.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the show. Did you have a good time? I really just wanted a reason to play that one more time. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Don't drink and drive. I'll punch you in the face. We'll be back here to do it all over again tomorrow and give you our week 0 game picks because it's college football weekend, baby. Rob Lonzo and you. See you tomorrow on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Later. Yeah. Oh, man. All right, kids. You guys are the best. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you enjoyed it. I did, mostly, as always. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a lovely Thursday. High school football.
I'm doing Pete
tomorrow
Dunne
night.
or Butch.
High school football tomorrow night. College football Saturday. Triumph Saturday night. Drive Sunday. It's a good weekend, y'all.
It's okay, Steven. You got another one. You're good.
See you tomorrow. Goodbye.